Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Riley, the Chairman of the Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission. Welcome to our regular meeting. It is July the 17th, 2025. It is 7:02 p.m. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We'll call the roll, starting on my right.
Dominic Spergolino, alternate commissioner.
Dominic Panitia, alternate commissioner.
Ryan Codman, commissioner.
Leanna Brosi, Commissioner.
Robert Westland, commissioner.
Kathleen Gallagher, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
And we have anybody online? 4 people. All right, well, I'm expecting Commissioner Mayini anytime, so we don't need to seat an alternate. So go ahead with general public participation as the agenda spells out. If anyone is here to address the commission on an issue that is not on the agenda,
Hello,
please come up.
I am Pete Metropolis. I just wanted to introduce myself. Guys, we've chatted a lot in the past and
Not repeat the
Pete
trouble.
Metropolis, yes.
Right.
So I'm in town, but I understand our thing got pushed off. But I just want to say hello. And yeah, Kathleen and I came to say hello to you yesterday, so that's all.
Okay, anyone else here that would like to address the commission on any issues that are not on the agenda tonight? If you're online, please press the raise your hand button. Seeing none, we'll move on to our first public hearing. First public hearing, EFP 2023-04-A1, 64 Cambridge Drive has been continued until August the 7th, 2025, which I think is our next meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Second item on the public hearing agenda is subdivision SUB 2025-032 Victoria Drive, which we're going to continue now from June the 18th.
For the record, Brian McCann, Zabel Schellenberg for the applicant Centro LLC. This is a continuation of a public hearing for subdivision, 2-lot subdivision on Victoria Drive, northern side of Victoria Drive. We have a 8.56 acre lot and a 2 and some change acre lot up front on Main Street. I believe the reason that the public hearing was continued from last month was that the commission was requesting an opinion as to access on the private road, Victoria Drive. I provided that opinion. I think you all should have it. The brief history is that the Amazon parcel in the rear, as well as lots that are the subject of the subdivision application, were had a unity of title. They were all held by the same owner at some point in time. And the seller, the then owner, sold the Amazon property to an entity and retained these 2 lots that are the subject of the subdivision. In doing so, in that transaction, that entity held certain rights for itself And some of those rights were the easement that lies beneath the private road. There actually, technically, there was a transfer prior to the easement, but the easement itself actually acknowledges that prior unity of title and the impetus for the reservation. Obviously, that property owner did not want to landlock any of his property holdings. I imagine that was a big part of it. And then in the easement documents, there are some specific reservations as far as the grantee, which is the then owner of these two lots, reserved specific rights related to the number of curb cuts, as well as some restrictions on the use in the rear parcel, the Amazon parcel. So it is an easement appurtenant. It does attach to and run with the land. So it's not specific to any landowner. That right did pass to my clients when they purchased the land. And I just wanted to double check, and I included a couple of cases. I think the last 3 or 4 paragraphs are essentially just that confirmation that it not only attaches to the rights of the property owner, but it also attaches to the rights of tenants and legal occupants of the properties. So what we're proposing through this open space easement is essentially granting rights as a legal, granting rights to the public, to the town of Monroe as legal occupants pursuant to that agreement and all the rights that are contained in the agreement. I also then prepared a draft conservation easement that I sent off a couple weeks ago to Kathleen and the town attorney for review. I think, did you get any comments back on the?
I did speak to the town attorney very late this afternoon.
Okay.
So in concept, he doesn't have an issue with the easement. However, he did take exception to some of the language. So I don't have a problem, and he doesn't have a problem making it a condition of approval, which is typical that it would have to be reviewed by the town attorney prior to the recording of the subdivision map. If the commission did want to entertain a vote tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. They're pretty typical terms. I mean, we're amenable to reasonable revisions. They, allowed passive recreation, the creation of some walking trails, paths, signage, if that's what the town desires. And then the actual meets and bounds, because I think that was a topic of conversation at the last hearing. The meets and bounds are shown on this map that's in front of you in the cross-hatched area. So essentially what we've done is we've proposed dedication of all the lands east of the bicycle trail.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I think that's
All right.
what I have.
We'll go to this question then from the commissioners. Start on my right. Commissioner Smirgino.
If I'm remembering last meeting, wasn't there a few different options we were gonna go with as far as the easement and everything? Did we decide on one specific option?
Yeah, we discussed a few options related to, we had a discussion about the percentage of wetlands versus uplands that's recommended in the subdivision regulations. The option that I heard sort of a consensus on that we decided to show on this map was the largest of the option. I figured that was probably the most conservative decision is to dedicate the most amount of land. So this is almost 5 acres of land. I mean, we could, if the commission does so desire, we could revert back to another option. I think this option makes probably the most sense because, and as you may recall, we did have some conversation about the view, the synergies between the bicycle trail and potential walking paths through the woods. So I think this is an option that probably makes sense unless the commission has different.
5 acres sound pretty good. Thank you.
Yep.
I have no questions.
No questions.
So what is the easement going to state then for us as far as?
The rights pursuant to the easement?
Yeah,
General access to the public, passive recreation, the ability to create trails, the ability to put trail signs, the ability to cut and maintain vegetation for purposes of maintaining the trails. But then it also has the element of the open, what your typical conservation easement language related to the areas that are not trails. So the other areas that are not used for that passive recreation would be conserved in perpetuity. So like no major tree clearing, clear cutting, and that sort of thing.
and that's all.
Talk a little bit about the parking, the specifics. I think you guys got a little specific about the parking area.
Yeah, well, we put in the ability, because we heard that in the comments from the last meeting, we put in the ability for the town to create, I believe, 2 parking spaces on the site if it so desires. I mean, that would be left to the town only because, I mean, I'm not sure the preferred location, there also are wetland jurisdictional areas there that would.
I thought there's a pretty dry spot down in the corner there, right?
Yeah.
At the bottom, right?
Yeah, it's still within 100 feet of
Yes.
wetland, so we'd still need
Right, we got to handle that.
approval, but yeah, there's
We
the,
can only park 2 cars on that thing?
that's why I wanted them to bring it up. That's what they're stating in the easement. So if you want that language to be changed, that's something
I
to,
think we need to, how many can we fit on that spot?
I haven't done an analysis on exactly.
More than 2, honestly. It's maybe 3 or 4. By the time you get in there and give a spot for turnaround, it's going to be, just roughly.
I just want to go with 2. If we can go more, I'd rather go more.
I mean, and we can also make.
It's something that we would make a
Change it
decision
to
on.
say 4, and I mean, the practicality of it is if we can only fit 2 or only fit 3,
We don't have a problem with whatever amount we can fit.
Yeah, and I-
just whatever's practically possible.
Well,
Basically, this is what we.
I think more what's really important for finalizing the document would be to not have specific restrictions regarding parking. I heard 2 parking spaces. There's no one on my side and the applicant side is married to that or has any feelings whatsoever about the number of parking spaces. So I think what we could do is just open up the rights pursuant to the easement to a parking area.
Right, that's.
And then
that
just
was- Right, that's.
whatever the
what we
town
should do, the easement.
Desires.
Yeah, that'll work better for us.
I heard 2, so I apologize if
Okay. That's all I have right now.
yeah.
I have no questions. And also in the last meeting, we had discussed the path itself, and there was discussions about the tenant taking care of that section of the bike path. Where is that gonna land?
So the easement agreement, which that covers the bicycle trail, is currently recorded. That assigns the maintenance responsibility to the town. But there was some conversation that you probably remember from my client at the last meeting, that they have done some maintenance in that area. They're hopefully, depending upon how you decide on the next application, they're hopefully installing a tenant on the property, so they do have some interest in having that aesthetically pleasing. But legally, the obligation still rests with the town. And we're not touching that. We had some discussion about that at the last hearing. We're actually not touching that easement. We specifically did not include that in this conservation easement. So they are cumulative, for lack of a better term, that this would be offered in addition to the bike easement. The bike easement would essentially be another 10 or 15 feet to the west of this conservation parcel.
I feel like that area has less traffic than most of the rest of the bike path, you know, in that little particular area, which could use additional maintenance. So going forward, I know in other towns, I've seen areas where they kind of cross through higher densely populated areas. They'll put fences up along the bike path. Now, Kathleen, will this inhibit that, or would there, you know, if they had a tenant that needed the privacy or the security of a fence, I mean, how would that work in the future?
So you are going to see actually the development for 2 Victoria tonight as part of a special exception permit, which is a daycare, and they have a playground area that's on that side of the building facing the bike path, and they do have a fence, but it's on their property, you know, away from the bike path. So the bike path still acts as its own entity. And then it's that they have to take, you know, caution to make sure that whatever their use is put in properly screened.
Okay, I just want it to work for everybody. That's good. That's all I have.
No, I think that's a good point. And I'm you'll hear more about the application, but obviously with the areas the outdoor areas, where there's children playing, there obviously will have to be some security there since there's a public walking trail next to a playground.
Right. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kathleen, do you have anything to add?
I would like to read the exhibits into the record just to make sure that we have them. Since our last meeting, I believe at the meeting on 6/18, an open space map plan was presented. That was exhibit 11. Exhibit 12 is the subdivision referral letter from the Inland Wetland Commission, which stated that they had a positive referral for the subdivision. That document is dated 6/12/25. Exhibit 13 is the updated conservation easement map that came in today, which you're seeing on the screen right now by Jade Edwards and Associates. Exhibit 14 is the requested letter of extension because we are going past the number of statutory days for the public hearing, so the applicant granted us that. Exhibit 15 is the email from Attorney McCann about some of the information related to access to the property from Victoria Drive. I believe you already spoke to it, but it's a much more detailed explanation of why we believe 2 Victoria can have access from Victoria Drive. There was questions about 10 and 36 Main Street, was not able to get access from Victoria Drive, but he did provide a substantial amount of supporting information related to his research of why that was accurate, and he gave you a brief summary of that tonight. Town engineer DeMayo is on the line if anybody has any questions related to him, but my understanding is that he has no further comments at this time. I have no further specific comments at this time. The only thing is I would just like to bring to everybody's attention that the agreement, that the potential agreement to this application, what the final proposal is that they're proposing right now is the open space that we just discussed, not as a separate piece of land, but as being conveyed via an open space and conservation easement. We're not requiring any sidewalks at this time. They're not proposing in the plans. However, if either one of the lots get developed, they will need a site development plan or a special exception permit, of which sidewalks could potentially be reviewed at that time for how it integrates into the existing site plan. And that a waiver is being requested for 111303C in the subdivision regulations, which allows a waiver for the usable space requirement for the open space. So normally we require 50% to be usable. This is going to be much lower than that in order to allow more land to be conveyed to the town of Monroe, but that includes additional wetlands. So those are all items that would be part of the consideration. I don't know if there's any other questions for the applicant, but I wanted to make sure that you realize that's in the scope of what's being proposed.
We're allowed to waive that requirement.
Yes.
James, do you have any further comments? You want to turn James on?
Yep, no, sir, most or pretty much all of my comments and concerns have been addressed either through wetlands and or revisions to this point.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Then we'll go to I think we'll go to the public next. If there's anyone here from the public that would like to comment to the commission on this application for the 2 Victoria Drive subdivision, please raise your hand.
And I would kindly ask that you sign in at the podium. There is a sign-in sheet and a pen.
Just one quick last thing, because Kathleen just sparked my memory. Has nothing to do with this application, but I know there was discussion at the last meeting about how is it possible that these 2 lots have access, but 10 and 36 Main Street do not. 10 and 36 Main Street did not have unity of title with these 3 lots, the Amazon and these, so that's the short reason.
Okay, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, it's Millie Rizio, and it's in regards to 8 Maple Drive. And can we zoom this in a little bit?
Can you please address the commission, please, not the applicant?
Can we zoom this in just a little bit?
Yes, go ahead.
Blow it up just a little bit.
And while he's zooming in, if you could just sign in.
Yeah, I want to see the 8 Maple Drive. I want to see the bike trail. That's what I'm looking at. Trying to get. It's a bike trail. Yeah, because I know he had stated that the bike trail does not get that much use in that particular area. The reason why it doesn't get that much use is because it's so hilly. So what happens is people who normally are going to use the bike trail go through our property instead and take that little roadway that then, goes out to Victoria Drive. I'm just kind of wondering if anything could be done on that bike trail to make it more accessible for people to use for bikes.
Well, we might do the 2 parking spaces or 3 parking spaces
Okay, so
on Victoria.
Scott Schlotzstein at that time, had proposed he was going to do some kind of a berm over there. And so that the bike trail could flow a little.
That's
bit
something we could
easier.
talk about in the future. I mean, there is a big drop off. There's a section in there that's got
Yeah.
a steep hill.
Very steep hill.
I agree 100%.
Steep hill.
Yeah.
So that's why the bike trail in that area doesn't really get use because of that steep hill. And then what happens is they actually go through the property on Maple Drive, which is okay with me because we're not using it anyways, but at the same time, it may produce a problem should someone get hurt on my property.
Right.
So that's kind of where I was, and if something could be done on that bike trail.
Is that section supposed to get looked at in the long ago approved?
Town engineer DeMayo, I know, has been now roped in to that next stage of improvements. I have not personally seen the plan. I don't know if he can speak to if that's included. I don't know if his head's wrapped around the details in that respect.
Yeah, well, I'm going back a couple of years, Scott Schlotzstein had come before the board and had proposed a berm in the area and doing some additional work so that bike trail became usable.
It's definitely worth looking into because it's not a safe area.
Approved at the time, but nothing was ever done.
Yeah, I remember us approving a lot of updates a long time ago.
Started soon.
Yeah, I believe it's just recently been, finalized, but I don't know that.
I think James wants to say something.
Yeah, so Town Engineer DeMayo, we're just talking about, is any part of this section part of this next round of construction? Most recently, there's concerns with a berm in this, or maybe the potential of a berm in this area because there's a steep drop off that makes it difficult for bicycles.
So I'll be honest, I don't have the plans memorized to that level of detail at this point. But if you know the resident, sorry, I missed your name. If you would like to come in and talk about what exactly is included in the project, you know, to give everyone an update, we have gone out to bid for construction, and we're just trying to wait for our notice to award from our funding source before we can start. So hopefully we're going to be starting soon. But if you have specific questions about the scope of that project, I'm more than happy to go through the plans with you.
You are? I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Yep, James DeMayo. I'm the town engineer. So my office is in the DPW section of the town hall.
All right, I'll stop in and talk to you about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else here from the public like to comment on this application? Anyone online like to comment on this application, please raise your hands. Anyone? Okay, seeing none, then back to the applicant for resolution. Would you like to close this hearing at this point?
Yeah, we'll close the.
All right. Then we are not hereby closing this hearing. Moving on to your next application, the special exemption permit SCP 2025-02 to Victoria Drive. And
Yes, I got the notice.
Brandon,
In accordance with CGS 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Thursday, July 17th at 7 PM or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting, and in-person attendees located at Monroe Town Hall. SCP 2025-02, file 16662, Victoria Drive, application for a special exception permit for construction of 10,000 square foot daycare facility located at 2 Victoria Drive, assessor map 012/047, lot 02, Centro LLC, CO Paul Stone, owner applicant, J. Edwards and Associates LLC representative. Notice was published in the Connecticut Post twice, once on July 3rd and again on July 10th.
thank you. Commissioner Condon and Kathleen, you want to read the exhibits?
Exhibit 1 is the application and plan set prepared by J. Edwards Associates, document dated or received June 12th, 2025. Exhibit number 2 is the Planning and Zoning Administrator Report dated July 9th, 2025. Exhibit 3 is the Health Department comments dated 7/10/2025. Exhibit 4 is Town Engineer comments dated 7/14/2025. Open space, Exhibit 5 is the open, it's a duplicate of the open space that was included in the subdivision application. Exhibit 6 is the comments or no comments from the Conservation Water Resource Commission. Exhibit 7 is comments from the fire department. Exhibit 8 is the certified mail receipts for the public hearing from the applicant. Exhibit 9 is the revised plans by J. Edwards Associates, document dated 7/16/2025. Exhibit 10 is comments from the Town of Monroe Police Department. Exhibit 11 is comments from Town of Monroe EMS. Exhibit 12 is an updated lighting plan that was submitted today, July 17th, 2025. And Exhibit 13 is a letter to the chairman by Attorney McCann dated July 17th, 2025.
Thank you, Kathleen. And for the applicant, go ahead.
Thank you. For the record, Brian McCann, attorney with Jacob Schellenberg for the applicant Central LLC. This is an application for a special exception permit for 2 Victoria Drive for a 10,000 square foot daycare facility. This is the presentation is going to include a presentation from Jason Edwards, as well as hopefully he's online, the architect Matthew Mel. This is an application that has a specific tenant in mind, and the floor plans as well as the design comes from the client. I see he'll be joining as a panelist. That's good news. There is this is a 8.56 acre site. we are proposing to provide 43 parking spaces. I understand that the client typically requires about 40 spaces. And the zoning regulations require 56 spaces. So there is going to be a request for some deferred parking. There are, I'll let Matthew talk in a little bit more depth about the actual user, but there are approximately 25 educators and 5 staff on site on a given day. There is also a need for about 5 or 6 parking spaces for pickup and drop off. The hours of operation are from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. But it's a flexible floating schedule, so there's no defined time for drop off and there's no defined time for pickup. But what the user does require is that every parent or guardian park the vehicle and walk the student inside the building. And I understand that takes, from speaking with the architect, that takes anywhere between about 10 and 15 minutes. It's going to be lightly staffed at those early hours and more densely staffed towards the 7 o'clock, 7:30 hours, but they do allow some flexibility for that early drop off. The site is in a 100-year floodplain, so there's going to be some fill required for the site development. So the applicant is proposing a compensatory drainage basin. Now that drainage basin is going to not only meet the regulatory needs, but it's going to be able to take some of the surface water runoff from the site. And I'm not sure if do we have Bill Kenny? Oh, we do.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then Bill will talk a little bit more about that, but it's also going to be vegetated with some seed mixes and wetland plants. So it's going to serve some function as well as some wetland function as well as drainage function. There's also stormwater infiltrators that will be installed beneath the parking lot. And this is a B2 zoning district. I think at one point in time, I've done a fair amount of history on this site because of the legal research that I've had to do. It appeared to me at some time it was in a part of the industrial zone. But suffice it to say that it is surrounded on 3 sides by the industrial zone, to the north, a little portion to the west, and certainly to the east with the Amazon parcel. I did take a look and just put together a little narrative about the special permit criteria. I don't know, did they get that in time? If not, I have copies. Can I hand these out?
Yeah. I don't know if we did, so if you have copies, let's just do it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So if it's okay, I'll just kind of go through some of these just so you don't have to read very quickly. I took a look at the special exception criteria in 8.2.2 of the regulations. The first one is that the location, size of the use, and nature of the intensity is consistent with the area, the arrangement and capacity of streets to have access to it, the hours of operation are in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the district. So, like I was saying, I included an excerpt from the zoning map that's Exhibit A on the back. And as you can see, that it's largely surrounded by the industrial zoning district. In my opinion, the industrial uses are much more intensive than the daycare or early childhood education use that's proposed. And unlikely to have significant adverse impacts on property values, safety, welfare, et cetera. But more importantly, I think that it might be a welcomed asset for that area, just because you have at least two industrial, well, one industrial / office use in Amazon and Victorinox immediately adjacent, which are heavily staffed and might welcome a nearby opportunity for early childcare. Second, consistency with the POCD. I saw in the POCD that the town plans to have high quality facilities, services to residents, property owners, business owners, visitors in a fiscally responsible manner. I believe that aligns with those goals in supporting families, potentially attracting new young family residents to the town that might value childcare options. Luckily, I'm just on the other side of that myself. Community feedback indicates a desire for services that support families and enhance quality of life. Same sort of thing. I think this could enhance fill the need and enhance the quality of life for younger families. Also aligns with the vision of maintaining a vibrant economy and community while balancing growth with environmental infrastructure considerations. Second is a consideration of the bulk and design of the site. The proposed use will be well screened from the adjacent uses. Obviously, you have the very sizable open space easement to the east. There's also some pretty dense vegetation to a portion to the north, and on top of that, there is a landscape planting plan that's being proposed as part of the site. And as far as the immediate adjacent uses, I believe that the proposed use is compatible and perhaps synergistic with the nearby youth soccer and athletic facility. Only soccer that is essentially across the street from the proposed use. Next is noise, fumes, dust, vibration, glare, intensity of flashing lights. The parking lot lights are designed to be adequately screened from adjacent properties by virtue of their design. Obviously, we're going to have some vegetated buffer that will help with any potential noise. Any potential noise, I think, would primarily be as a result of the outdoor play hours, which would not be outside of the normal business hours, mostly in the middle of the day. Next is sewage disposal, a subsurface sewage disposal septic system will be designed that is satisfactory to and subject to approval by the local health department. And the next is parking, suitably screened from adjacent properties and traffic. Project engineer has designed the parking lot and curb cuts so as to not only provide adequate parking for the user, but also its visitors, and the ingress and egress is adequate for the anticipated traffic of the facility. Obviously, we provided you the proof that there is access to and from the private street, and we're proposing approximately 43 parking spaces with 13 deferred. the primary, as I stated before, the primary traffic hours will be between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m. and approximately 4 to 6:30 p.m. for the pickup. Comments and recommendations to town staff should be considered. I looked through, I didn't see any negative comments from town staff. I saw a few comments, but I believe they were addressed, such as the first responder vehicles. I believe it was a fire truck. An incorrect size was used on the turning radius diagram, which was updated and amended. Verification of all approvals. This, as zoning administrator Gallagher stated earlier, this did receive an approval from the Inland Wetlands Commission on June 11th. Lastly, they'll not require above normal use or drain on public facilities or services, and provide a financial burden to the town. The applicant believes that the proposed use does not create any additional burdens, but rather that it may serve as an asset, excuse me. When I was talking, you'll probably hear more about it later, but when I was talking to the architect, he was knowledgeable of information about areas, many areas that actually are have identified that early childhood education, early childhood daycare is currently at a deficit. A lot of surrounding towns are actually finding that they need more. So hopefully this will serve as an asset and hopefully be successful too. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jason Edwards just to walk you quickly through the site plan.
Good evening. For the record, Jason Edwards, J. Edwards Associates, Engineer Surveyors, located at 227 Stepney Road in Easton. This is the site development plan for 2 Victoria Drive. Just to show you where it is, but Victoria Drive is on Main Street. Amazon facilities on the east side. This is Swiss Army. It's 1036 Main here. Olay Soccer is here. Maple Drive comes to here. Our site is right on the side. And that's larger than the same view. Just a quick summary of the history. This was a summer camp back in the 70s through the 90s. 2001, there was a large-scale approval of Canterbury Square, which was mixed-use development, commercial and medical. 2004, there was an approval for a daycare on the site, which was actually included the bike trail, which has now been built. That was part of the approval. 2004, that road was built. 2006, Swiss Army came in. 2008 is when the rail trail was constructed. And then the rest really relates to the wetlands, and then Amazon came in around 2020 and finished up in 2021. So now, kind of on the final piece of the this development that started quite a long time ago. This is again the existing conditions. We would be in this green space here. You do have wetlands to the south, and then the larger wetlands, which is now going to be the conservation open space area, is all back in here. Bike trail comes along. That's the existing bike trail you see there. This is the landscape plan, but it's the nicest looking plan on the set, so I'll start there. You see the 10,000 square foot building sits here, directly to the northeast is where the playground would be. The entrance comes in where the existing curb cut is now. If you drive down there, enters here, in the parking lot, and then this comes back out the same entrance. This is my site plan. As was stated by Brian Ken, this isn't a flood zone, so we have to elevate the building. It's up about 2 feet above grade is where the floor is going to sit, so we have to bring in fill in this area and then this area, which in turn, when we fill in a floodplain, we have to create what they call compensatory storage. You basically dig a hole to offset whatever fill you create. So that's what this is. We also have, in addition to that compensatory storage, there's a series of chambers beneath the parking lot here that are dedicated just for compensatory storage, concrete galleries. And then we have a separate stormwater filtration system. We have 2 independent storage areas, which provides flood storage, but also does provide a large volume of stormwater storage as well. So it's a net positive for that. The septic system is going to be up on the other side of that access road that comes through here. It's going to be pumped around into here. The soil's down in this area where some fill and not necessarily. This was used as a staging area during the construction of the road, so it was somewhat disturbed. So we felt this was a better area up here, and the soils are very good up here. We've got 43 parking spaces in this parking lot, which is less than what zoning stipulates, but it is more than what the user feels they actually need. They had only required, I think, either 38 or 40. So we are in excess of what they feel they need, and the architect can speak more to that. He's got some good stats on the actual needs for these facilities. We do have deferred parking up the road here. It's about 300 feet, I think, from door to deferred parking if they would use it. If the deferred parking was to be utilized, that would be employee parking, so it would not be used for daycare drop off. We have a dumpster location, which is along the backside here. There's an enclosure detail that's provided. I'll show it to you in a minute here. That playground area in the rear is going to be fenced. There'll be a fence that goes along back here, connects back up this, and comes all the way around. The entire building is going to be closed in a fence, so they have a walkway around here, but there's no direct access for this, security reasons. You have public water on the site and gas. This is the fire emergency vehicle turning path that we had used a fire truck for a different town accidentally. So this is the correct one. It does work. This is the dumpster. That's the PVC fence. This is the dumpster enclosure here. These all submitted and reviewed by staff. This is really the building plan. So unless there's any specific questions for me, I'm going to turn it over to the architect to let them continue. That's okay. Matt, if you're on. Please run.
Yes, I am here. Good evening, everyone. I don't have the ability to turn my camera on. I don't know if that's something you want to see my face or not. But I do
No,
have...
that's a security protocol for the town of Monroe.
No problem. So good evening. My name is Matthew Jarmel. I'm a registered architect with the architectural engineering firm of Jarmel Keisel Architects and Engineers. I've had the pleasure of working with the Learning Experience as their preferred architect for over 20 years, designing childcare centers for them throughout the country. Total, I've done close to 400 schools for them. They currently operate approximately, I think, 430 schools around the country. They have about 200 in various stages of development. It's a really excellent brand, and they really emphasize not only just we'll say babysitting or caring for children, but educating them as well. This proposed building, as has been shared with you earlier, is proposed to be 10,000 square feet in area, single story in height, and it will be licensed by the state of Connecticut Department of Children's and Family to operate as a child care center. It'll house children that are as young as 6 weeks of age to approximately kindergarten or 5-year-olds. The building drawing that you see before you right now is elevation that was it's a revised elevation. Actually, we had proposed a prototype elevation that had some brighter colors to your architectural review board. They seem to not like the bright colors, so we kind of we toned them down a little bit to present what you're seeing here today. Building will have a brick base. It'll have a stucco facade. And at the main entry, if whoever's controlling this could zoom in on that first east elevation, which is the main door, you'll see they have their logo, the learning experience, and they like to kind of make the entry fun by having these 1, 2, 3, 4 A, B, C, D blocks over a canopy. Canopy is important because they like to have sort of like a dry weather protection for when parents enter. You'll notice there's an elephant in the sign. That elephant's name is Bubbles. One of the things that really makes the learning experience stand out is their branding, and they have an array of what I'll call Disney-esque type characters that are led by Bubbles and his friends. I invite everybody when they have a free time at their computer to Google Bubbles and his friends. You'll see they have a YouTube channel that promotes education for children and helps them kind of reinforce their brand and have children come to the center. If we could change the drawing to the floor plan, please. Okay, so, and maybe just kind of zoom in first on the floor plan itself on the right side, and I can walk the board through some of the spaces. So the entrance is on plan right here. One of the high security facilities, you'll notice that there's a vestibule. Both the front door and the inner vestibule door are glass. During business hours, the exterior door is open, but the interior door is locked. Parents are given a key fob that can allow them to come in to drop off their children. Actually, let me digress a moment. So the children in this facility are very young. They can be 6 weeks to about 5 or 6 years of age. It's a childcare center, as our attorney had mentioned earlier. It's designed to really meet the convenience of parents. So it's open from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and parents are allowed to drop off and pick up their children whenever they like. So unlike a school or a public school or private school where there's a bell that rings at 8:30 and all the children arrive at the same time, children for these facilities come staggered and really in the morning over about a 3-hour period from 6:30 to 9:30. Usually you'll see a peak of about 7:30 to 8:30, and then you'll see children start to be picked up as early as 4 o'clock, sometimes earlier because they have half day, 3/4 day programs to about 6:30. The attorney mentioned that the parents have to park and walk their children in. He misspoke on the timing. That he said 15 minutes. That timing has been measured in all the centers they operate, and it takes about 5 to 7 minutes to drop a child off. And typically, you will never see more than, say, 6 to 8 parents dropping off children at the same time. But if you use the conservative 10 minutes, a typical parking space could turn over 6 times an hour or 6 to 8 times an hour, which quickly can uh, fill the facility without having a lot of conflict with parents and traffic kind of getting in each other's way because you don't have that many arriving at the same time. Some of the statistics that we've learned from operating centers is on any given day, about 10% of the children are absent. A lot of them are they have a fever, they're not allowed to come, for example, or they'll be sent home immediately. And then we've also learned that about 25% on average of the children that attend the facility come in the same car because they're siblings. You'll see within the facility, once you get past the reception desk, and parents, by the way, have card access that let them in. So if you or I showed up at this center when it was open, we'd have to be buzzed in through security. There's always a receptionist. There's also a touch screen at the reception desk where each child has an individual PIN that gets logged in. And then the parent takes the child to the classroom and leaves. Classrooms are designed in accordance with Connecticut state facility rules in terms of the size of the classroom and ratios for children based on age group. The rooms that are directly adjacent to the reception room, sort of on the top right-hand corner of this plan, are identified as infant A and B. Those are infant rooms. They're close to the reception, so parents don't have a large way to go. And then there's toddler rooms. So for example, an infant room, you're only allowed 8 children with 2 caregivers, but a toddler room or a toddler room, you can have as many as 10. This facility will be licensed. The current estimate for licensing is 155 children, which would require, if it was 100% full, 23, I'm sorry, caregivers in the classrooms. Usually each classroom has two, and unless they're older children. So there's coverage. And then there's usually two admin staff, which is the owner or the manager and then a receptionist. You'll note some of the amenities in the building include bathrooms that are associated with each, attached to each classroom. So the caregivers don't have to take a child out of the classroom and into the hall for them to use the toilet. Some of these children are obviously in diapers, so you'll see some of the rooms have changing tables and they teach toileting. There's a pantry in the facility. They don't do any cooking, but they have prepared meals that come and they are given out to the children. If you could just pan up on the plan, talk about the playground. Playground is also a requirement of licensing, and this playground will be divided into 2 sections for age-appropriate children and playground equipment. I heard on the earlier testimony about the bike path and your planner mentioned the fencing around this. The playground will have a 6-foot high fence around it. It'll be a PVC fence that looks like simulated wood and it'll be solid. And that's serves several purposes. One, the children can't look out and be distracted and want to get out. And it doesn't allow people to see the children because it's 6 feet. It adds an added safety. So a lower fence, someone would be able to reach over. So the children are out, weather permitting. They never go out more than 2 classes, one for each side of the playground at a time. The building will have some features, actually under the building code, it gets classified as an institutional use group, in which basically takes into consideration that the occupants don't have either the physical or cognitive ability to exit a building in a case of an emergency. So as a result of that, there's a higher standard of care designed into the building. You'll see that many of the classrooms have 2 means of egress, which is required once a room reaches 10 occupants, where typical uses in the building code are closer to 50. It'll have a fire alarm system. It will have a sprinkler system throughout. There'll be closed circuit TVs and security alarms throughout the building. That's essentially my testimony, and I'd be pleased to take any questions that the board has of me or the public.
You want us to go on to, again, landscape, I think Bill Kenny's on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Landscape, is there, Bill?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, great. Good evening. I am Bill Kenny. I'm the principal of William Kenny in Fairfield. I'm a professional landscape architect, wetland scientist, and soil scientist. My firm was hired to help with both the wetland review and delineation and assessment, and in addition to provide landscape architecture services. This site is quite interesting in that there's quite a bit of natural landscape. The development footprint is quite concentrated, and most of the property will remain quite natural and naturalized. And we're actually doing some restoration of habitat adjacent to the development area. So immediately, the most refined landscape is bordering the parking lot, within the parking lot, and bordering the playground. And due to the location of wetlands to the south, there's a small isolated area to the south of the building and parking lot. And then, of course, the Paquonic River to the north with all the floodplain wetlands, the forested floodplain associated with that. We're proposing a very natural landscape, woodland restoration immediately northwest of the building. And then between the building and the wetland to the south, we have more naturalization plantings of native shrubs and trees. And then where the septic system is proposed at the couple hundred feet even further south of the building, we'll restore that area as a meadow. And areas along the road, there'll be a narrow strip of grass, a few feet or so, 3 to 5 feet, and then meadow plantings beyond that. The proposed compensatory storage basin that is north of the parking lot, between the parking lot and the river, that'll also be a native meadow. We have two drawings. We have this drawing with the plan view, a second sheet that has a plant list. And you'll see there's pretty much all the plants that we're proposing are native to the Northeast. And there's a variety of trees, shrubs, and ground covers. And we also assisted with the preparation of the site lighting. The lighting on site is again focused right on the development area. So there's sconce lights around the outside of the building mounted to the building for the pedestrian walkway that surrounds the building. And then just a couple of light poles within the parking lot itself. And all the lighting is down lighting and dark sky compliant. And there's a few recessed lights under the canopy at the entrance of the building. But and the lighting is very low in the Kelvin color, which is very more of a peaceful color light, and it's good for both people and wildlife. So the lighting footprint on the property is just enough for the safe use of the property by the humans that'll be there, but it's also sensitive to wildlife that might be nearby. Pleased to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's all we have.
That's all you have.
This is the lighting plan that Bill was speaking about. I was trying to put it, if anybody wants to see it.
And let's go to some questions from the commissioners. We'll start on my right. Commissioner Swindon,
You guys plan on having street front signage?
Yeah, Matthew Jarmel, architect. So we proposed two building signs, one over the front door and then one on the side of the building that faces the street, and also a monument sign at the entry.
A monument?
Near the entrance, Main Street or at Victoria Drive entrance?
At Victoria Drive, the driveway into the site.
On the plan?
That's not on your property,
No, it would be on our property.
so not at the Victoria Drive entrance.
So we said coming in off of Victoria Drive is what I was trying to.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I was trying to say that.
There is a note in my comment letter that we're not reviewing it in detail for signage. They are going to have to comply with town of Monroe signage regulations. So right now they're showing it in conceptual form. They will be required to do a separate signage permit from our zoning enforcement officer.
We don't know where the signage is gonna go on this property?
They are proposing the one on the building. They are proposing one. It is shown on the site plan. Because it has to be 10 feet off the property line. For one at that time. And did you guys mention a third location?
There's two on the building, which you
Oh,
can
two
see
on
on the east elevation, and then on the elevation below it. And then the monument sign that's shown on the site plan.
But you guys don't have a detail of the monument sign in the drawings yet. There's no detail in the drawings at this time.
It definitely will be a monument style.
Where's it gonna be? It's on here? Where's it on the plan?
Yeah, it will be it will be a monument sign that uses the same masonry that's on the base of the building. And then the sign would have the bubbles, the elephant, and the learning experience, the same letters and colors that are above the door.
Picture of it. No.
And it's labeled as monument sign.
You don't have a picture.
So it is
It's
specifically
gonna be,
labeled as
they're
a
gonna have to go back for a separate permit for that after the building permit application. So that'll-
Yes. But it is labeled as a monument sign if you want something
Identify
accountability wise.
location, that's the town requirements for-
On the floor plan, each classroom had 2 exits. The rear ones, does that go directly out of the building or into a hallway?
There's a wall.
So,
There's- Once they get-
yeah, so the corridor has an exit directly out. So and I failed to mention, there's a fence that runs around the entire building. So I mentioned to you that the playground fence is 6 feet high, but then we'll say a fence that runs roughly 6 feet off the perimeter of the building that is 4 feet high. And that fence is, there in the case of an emergency or if a child, these are egress doors. So somebody could open a door, they're alarmed, and then it would prevent a child from running away because they're kind of contained in that fenced area.
And that fence stops at the front of the building, so there's a
Correct.
way to get out, right?
Right. You'll notice that at the front of the building, there's gates. You can see the lower part of the plan. There's a gate from the fence that swings out, and similarly on the upper part that allows in an emergency to get out.
Are those gates automatically locked or are they gonna be able to get out?
So the gates are locked from, we'll say, the public side or the parking lot side. And it's not like a gate it's similar to a fence gate you might have at home, but it has egress hardware on it. It's actually a little higher, so a child wouldn't be able to reach it, but they would need a caregiver to open it for them.
Okay, so it's manual.
Like a
Correct.
swimming pool.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure if you mentioned, but between your staff, teachers and management, what do you propose? How many people you have?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question
The
clearly.
number of staff, I think you said 25
Yeah,
educators.
so if you look at the upper left-hand corner, if we could zoom in on that, there's a proposed licensing chart and on this plan, and it'll show you, it names, if you zoom in on that, it names each room, the age group of the children, how many they're designed for, and how many teachers or caregivers. So you'll see there's a total of 159 children, 23 caregivers, and then we say plus 2 staff for administration or management. Some other notable items in this chart, as you'll see, there's a column that says teacher ratio. For example, infants, it's 1 to 4, and then it comes down to 1 to 5, and for the older groups, 1 to 10. And then there's the state required square footage per child, what the actual square footage that we propose is, which in most cases is a little bit larger, and then the ratios of square footage per student. So the rules are very specific that the state gives. It's interesting because many states vary. Just by comparison, if I did this building in Connecticut, I'm sorry, in California as opposed to Connecticut, I could with 200 children in it. So Connecticut's rules are pretty conservative in terms of how many children go in the building.
And that's a maximum.
That's a maximum, yeah. And
But
the
you don't
process
have
works, what'll happen is the building, presumably if your board approves it and it moves forward and is constructed, when your local construction code official issues what's called a certificate of occupancy, then the state comes in and they measure it and they do their own calculation. And by the way, the numbers are based on net, so they deduct for furniture as a net area of the room. So they deduct for things like furniture and cabinetry and so on. And sometimes the number might be a little bit less, but probably never more than what we put on the drawing.
Thanks.
So with the deferred parking, how many parking spaces do you have?
56
So you're at,
with deferred.
with the deferred, and now the deferred, are those planned to be paved or no?
They're not going to be constructed at this time.
Okay, yeah, so it's just gonna be, all right, so in the event that something else comes in here and we need it, we can park there? Okay, no problem. No other questions?
So the part of the building's in a floodplain, right?
Yes.
It's
The
whole building?
You might flip the corner, I'm not, doesn't flip the corner?
It maybe
Yeah.
slightly, but for the
Yeah, it's
majority,
in the flood.
more than just the majority, but
Yeah, it's, the whole of it is.
it's in the AE zone.
Yep, so we're lifting the
Building
elevation.
designed to accommodate for a floodplain?
Yes, well,
How's that?
it's lifted above the town's building code and zoning code requires
Listed above it?
design flood elevation, I think it's a foot above.
So the base flood elevation is 304. They're designing their FFE at 305.
And then the architect will have to design line or building codes there may be.
Right, and then, I watched the wetlands meeting, they were talking about your playground. About what is that made of?
It's, I didn't study my playground materials.
It's a foam, the
Yeah,
surface is a foam.
the playground gets a turf material. So and it is pervious, so water will flow through it. So what they do is they put a base of stone down first. Then it gets sort of a foam board that allows water to flow through it, but acts as a cushion, sort of as a fall protection. And then on top of that is a turf material. And in certain areas, there may also be some poured like rubber surfacing as well. But for the most
What
part,
holds-
it's turf.
And what holds that in place if there's a flood?
The weight of it would hold it down.
So, and just to clarify, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The Inland Wetland Commission, because it was in a floodplain, asked them to put additional attachment measures in place. And so what they did is they put, for lack of a better term, it's called a nailer around the entirety of the playground area. And so it attaches to the nailer in the same way that you would attach a synthetic turf, like high school football field, which is it wraps around and they nail it into, I think they're using pressure treated lumber around for it. It's a very common practice for athletic fields in order to make sure it's cut down. You don't typically see this securely attached on a preschool playground, but it was a condition from the Inland Wetland Commission that they wanted to see that.
It's mechanically fastened that wetlands asked us to, and so we did that very thing.
And for us, it was, if it does float, if you do have a floodplain and all the water comes up, it's going to be fastened around all the time. So it's not going to, piece up, go away, do things like that. And it doesn't have the infill in it like you would see in like an actual athletic field. It's just strict turf.
For kids that are going to school, there's a pickup and drop off from buses, I'm assuming?
You mean for like a before or after care program?
Correct.
Or if they apply for services, or, if they can go to the elementary school for certain services, I would imagine most daycares will do bus drop
Yeah,
off.
so typically Learning Experience doesn't own or operate or keep buses at their facilities. They will work with the local school board if there's a program that requires a before care or after care, where the school board might run or the school or the bus company might run usually a small bus to the site. If you're talking about services like early intervention and things of that nature, they're usually, if it is applied for a child, they usually are done within the facility.
Because I remember when we were talking about the project south of that with split between Trumbull and Monroe, that the buses weren't going to come onto their property, and they're going to get dropped off on the road.
This would be a different
Well,
scenario.
as of right now, this childcare center doesn't propose to have any interaction. It's a privately operated facility. So parents have to pay tuition for their children to come here, and the parent is responsible for the drop off and pickup.
However, I will, and we haven't gotten my part, full disclosure, I actually have a child in the learning experience location in another municipality, and we do have bus drop off. It's a small bus. It's not a full.
They go
school
on
bus.
site?
They go on site and they wrap around, and there's usually only one or two kids, but those kids do take advantage of our school system. They do provide additional care for some of our preschoolers for
Specific needs.
specific needs.
Outside of that, I'm pretty good. Thank you.
No, and piggybacking on the buses, I also have had kids go to local daycare centers in Monroe, and they were dropped off. But what's being told to us here is that the children are only going to be up to 5 to 6 years old. So we're not talking about school-age kids.
Yeah, if there's space in the childcare center and a community need, the operator may provide like before care and after care for school age children, because usually the license goes to 12, but it's really only if they have room for it and there's a supplemental need. And it's kind of up to them. It's most of them fill up as a childcare center because there's such great demand for childcare.
Yeah, and there's definitely a need in the area for childcare. I know that all the centers are pretty much, they're at capacity in the area. So is there any gatherings that would be scheduled amongst this group that would involve the school to come in its entirety? I know there's certain.
That's a great question. Typically, no. If they were to do something, they would probably do it on the weekend. But usually, like when they do a graduation or a party, they do it off-site. And if they don't, they would make arrangements with the community to make sure that they could handle the capacity of visitors.
And typically graduations are specific to certain,
To
step
an
up
age
age
group, right?
kids.
So it's exactly.
They wouldn't be able to do it there anyway.
Right. Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Can you pull up 2.2? Or the early. Can you show where the FEMA floodplain lines are?
The building.
2.1 has it.
Yeah, that's the law. So all that do is water, isn't it?
This is wetlands, yeah.
So you're sitting like a little island surrounded by water.
No, it's not standing water, it's wetland soils.
Wetland, yeah, but I mean, the northern part's the stream, the river. Isn't it?
There's a small stream to the
Aquanic River.
East, everything's right there, yeah. Yep.
It's not a small stream.
That's not a small stream. But there is a large.
It's a small stream for them. It's a river for us.
When it's not raining, it's a small stream, but when it's raining, it gets to be a big river.
Something that hasn't been taken into account into this flood profile here. When Victoria Drive was built, they installed a very large box culvert across this river. And it's not taken into account in the flood study. For whatever reason, they didn't restudy that when they issued it in 2010 or 2013. So that's still modeled with a small pipe. That's the only pass through there. So when we looked at that, at least in preliminary stages, the flood elevation is actually lower than what is here. So we're going to try to pursue maybe getting that changed with FEMA, but it's not an easy task. And evidence of that, when we had the big floods last August or whatever, the road did not overtop here. This was all still high and dry. So it's pretty good, advertising for the fact that it's not in a spot that's going to be inundated very easily.
So the topo, it looks like the elevation to the lower left goes up, right?
Yes.
So it's sort of also in a depression there, in a hole.
Well, that's why this water sits in here, yeah, because this comes under a pipe.
Surrounded by water.
And this was actually basically a creating wetland here because of the camp use and the burdensome water. And then they had a structure here that they removed, and when they did that, it created a hole that filled with water. So it grew since the initial development of the site.
How many children are going to be in there?
26.
What's that?
No, that's faculty.
I'm sorry, that was.
He has the chart there. Yeah, we're operating off of maximums. so-
100?
159 would be the
30 babies?
maximum.
Is there any kind of warnings that you envision for flooding? Like, are people going to know that this is in a floodplain, 100-year floodplain, right?
The owner would obviously know, and whoever is running it would have to have flood insurance, so they would be aware of that. There was some protocols put in place when this road was built, for emergency evacuation and those systems. I don't know what the status of those are anymore, but that was
I'd like to know that, what those protocols are.
Is there access to the roof?
Yes, yeah. Well, there's no stair, but there's a ladder. But I think in our engineer testified on this, the building's being elevated outside of the flood hazard.
So
1 foot, right?
that's the requirement. I mean, that's what.
That's the requirement, yes.
That's what your codes dictate. For us to go any higher, I mean, we'd have to go more and create more of a disturbance in wetlands, so you really have to kind of adhere to what the code is. That's what we're given by FEMA from the safety standards, and that's what we have to, so we can't be, I don't think we can be asked to do more than that, and then jeopardize the wetlands and everything else surrounding the site.
Can we get some more information on that flooding plan and the actual work that was done? You said there's a,
There's like an evacuation plan, I think, that they had, and.
yeah, I'd like to see some,
Yes.
I mean, that might be pertinent. It's a good call.
Usually,
And by the way, just an added requirement of licensing is that there is an emergency evacuation plan. So it just kind of, first of all, this center will coordinate with the local fire department to do fire drills on a regular basis. But they have to be provisions where they have to be able to take the children to someplace safe in the event that the building has to be exited and can't be re-entered, whether that's a power failure, or a flood, or a fire, God forbid. So usually most operators will have some sort of arrangement with a hotel or public school or church that's nearby that they can and a arrangement with some sort of company to take the children there in that case of an emergency.
And like I said, this was not inundated in water in the large storm that we had.
I have a question.
And that's, if anything, that's better proof that a flood map is, in my opinion. You've got to.
Well, that storm was in the northern part of Monroe.
There was all that water had to pass through the area, though.
Some parts got affected, some didn't.
Yeah, I mean, but there was still a lot of water that came through.
The water flows north up there. This flows, the Quantic flows south.
It's flowing south. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question. We've just seen some storms in other states that came suddenly, that for young kids, there's no time to leave. And also, are you have any provisions for any pass-through water on the building?
On the building, no, but on the site we do. So there's flood storage, which the water does pass through. And the site is elevated so that there will be a section of the site that's above floodplain for emergency, exit to get out. So you've got,
Where do you stand on 100-year plan, flood plan?
What?
On a 100-year storm, where do you stand?
Where do we stand in relation to the elevation? We're above it. The floor is above it by a foot, yes.
They're 1 foot above. 1 foot above.
I know, on the building or on the playground?
On the building. Yeah, the building. The playground's that great, so it's, I don't think there's gonna be a flood, so that they wouldn't have, they wouldn't be out there in a major storm event, so they're gonna be.
But seeing what's going on now throughout the whole country now, it's like I can understand, Mr. Riley's,
I understand it, but at the same time, there's.
we're just asking, is there some kind of a
Yeah.
flood disaster plan to remove these kids out of that building if there has to be?
I think
there one
that
of those?
there's going to have to be one, and I'll provide whatever was.
That's what
Yeah, we can provide that.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for me. Any other questions from the commissioners? If not, we'll go to the public.
Would you mind if I just like, if
Do you want to comment?
Yes,
Go ahead.
just to go through where we are in our comment memo. The applicant resubmitted drawings yesterday, so unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to do a full review. I do believe they've addressed a couple items. Just question for you guys about the charging stations. There's like some back and forth of how people interpret that state statutes. I interpreted that you just have to outfit it, like the infrastructure for it. You don't have to put the actual charging stations in. So I'm assuming that your plan is just showing the infrastructure for conduits and whatnot for it, and it can go through it. Yes, I just want to make sure you guys weren't over doing that. There are parking requirements. The way that it is written is one space per one employee, including all management, administration, caregivers, teachers, and maintenance personnel, plus one space for every 5 students, plus adequate separate designated drop-off/pickup areas. Can you just address how you feel like you're adequately addressing the last portion, which is adequate separate designated drop-off pickup areas?
Yeah, so I can maybe take that. So, generally, we find that these centers, 10,000 square feet, operate with very well 35 to 40 parking spaces. The staff will be told where to park, and that's going to be furthest from the door. So we have 43 spots and potentially, 25 staff, which leaves, what is that, 43, 20, it leaves 18 parking spaces for drop-off pickup. Typically, we probably need 6 to 8. You'll notice that there's 8 parking spaces directly in front of the building, 2 of which are obviously handicap, which are not frequently used, but the other 6 can be easily used for drop-off pickup. And then we have the ones kind of 90 degrees to that to the right. We like to have head-in parking at the front door so that parents don't have to cross the drive aisle. And I think six parking spaces, regular non-handicap there will do very well. If it was the board's desire for them to be marked drop-off pickup only, I'm sure the operator would be okay with that, but typically it's not necessary because the staff won't park there because they work there and they're going to be instructed exactly where to park, and that's going to be far away from the door. You find, by the way, even with 43 parking spaces, this lot will sit half empty most of the day.
But do you have the ability, if you needed extra parking, to expand?
Yes, there's deferred parking shown up top.
Yeah, so not at this location. So they're proposing 13 deferred parking spaces. Our zoning regulations allow them to utilize 25% of their total required parking space to be deferred. They're looking at 23%. And I would just encourage that if the commission was willing to entertain the deferred parking, that you would make a condition of the approval that if we ever did need to enact it, they would have to be employee parking spaces in order to make sure that obviously the drop-off pickup areas are preserved.
But those deferred parking spaces are pretty far from the building, right?
It's about 300 feet. I mean, it's not close, but I mean.
It's not typically, normally, the deferred parking this commission has done in the past has been connected to the actual parking lot. I don't personally have the historic knowledge to know if we've ever done anything of it being this location. We do have a maximum distance for our shared parking requirement, but I believe we're pretty silent on what the requirement is for deferred parking if we're willing to accept it at a separate location or.
Shared is what, 500?
I think shared is 500, yeah.
Is there a sidewalk along that road?
Yes.
So Kathleen, then should we just say that we don't have to enforce it, but should we say that those 15 parking spaces there have to be for employees only?
I think we should make it a condition of approval is if we ever have to. So the way the deferred parking is written in the regulations is the zoning enforcement officer can pull the trigger that it has to be conducted, which means in the meantime, they can't build anything on it. They can't manipulate it. They have to keep it as flat land. And yes, I would say that a potential option is to write a condition of approval is if that ever does happen, it has to be designated as employee parking spaces.
Right, so then all right, that's what I would want to do too. All right.
Another question, do you guys have, and you might not know this, but any mechanism of monitoring the parking? Like the parking lot, for the fact that it's near a bike trail and you might have a lot of random people just try to park there to access the bike trail?
Yeah, if the operator finds people that are not employed or parents, they're gonna make a phone call to the police, I'm sure of it.
Or even signage.
Yeah,
Because it's gonna happen.
yeah, sure. Good point. I'm sure they've got some.
The police will probably want signage to be able to enforce it too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think both. is
Yeah,
the
a couple, you know.
We can put that on the plan.
I had a couple other comments just for clarification for the fence height and materials, which I believe they've gone through tonight. I will note that that's a really nice dumpster enclosure detail. So I very much appreciate that. I did ask about snow storage because we do have environmentally sensitive areas surrounding us on many sides. They're proposing to put the snow storage. It looks like right against the floodplain area. We just want to make sure because that snow could have salt or other things on it. We want to make sure they don't put it right up against a wetland. So then when it thaws, all that salt goes into the wetland. So if they're doing it right up against that basin, I don't take an issue with that, but we do want to make sure that that's controlled and that we have something on the plan that we can enforce. And again, it was just more clarification about the fact that yes, they are in a floodplain. They will need a floodplain permit. The town engineer and I have done a preliminary, floodplain review based on our zoning regulations and things of that nature. Basically, the reason they have to provide the storage is they have to balance the cut fill. You can do a secondary analysis if you don't balance the cut fill, but the idea is the volume in the flood plain area has to remain the same. So if they fill in one area, they have to cut from another area. So if it does ever flood, that total volume of space remains intact, of which case they have to prove that out to make sure that their cut fill is adequate. This was in front of the Architectural Review Board. What you're seeing is the revised set of plans, as was mentioned by the architect. The original set of plans didn't include the pitched roof in the front. That was a comment that they had requested. It did have Sherwin-Williams Colonial Yellow as a really large component to the front. The ARB took exception to, they felt it just looked a little too modern compared to what we would like to see in town. Part of the way they're trying to rectify that is that pitched roof, as well as taking away the yellow. It is still a very gray building. And so they had asked for revisions, and then the Architectural Review Board is going to meet again at the end of this month in order to look at those revisions. So we don't have a final memo from them. But I would like this commission, since they're advisory and you guys are the final determination of that character, I would like to know if you guys believe that they're kind of going in the right direction, or do you guys have any other
Do
comments?
you have a picture of the other building?
So the original proposal? Matt, do you have that?
I can't share.
I can't share.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
More elephants, less elephants?
Say it
More
now.
yellow.
You guys actually, you should probably have it in your original submission.
That looks good, so.
Find it online, right?
I do have it. I just don't have a drive, but I could pop it onto us and drive. I have one.
It's like Noble Gas with the green pillars. Probably their brand.
Learning system, learning center exposure.
Right.
So,
So that's a lot. View from 27. There you go. Yellow. Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Speak to it.
That's transferring, so hold on. computer's not as slow as I can.
Right in the woods. It's a little bright in the woods that no one's gonna see. More bubbles. I like it.
So yes, they took exception to that. That yellow's pretty accurate. We actually looked up the real color. It's colonial yellow. And again, just the like boxiness of the building, they took exception to. They just didn't feel like it was in line with the general community. This cannot be seen from the street. Olay is right across the street, which is a pretty boxy building. So I know that was one of their kind of arguments, that you're adjacent to an industrial area. So it's actually like a little bit in line with the industrial. However, we do believe this is going to be a community facility, and they wanted to have it be a little more in the New England side.
Anything else?
Is there any other comments from this commission, if they're like in the right direction with how the changes that they're
It
making?
looks a lot better now.
Okay.
I don't really see there any need for any other changes to what they already did.
Okay.
I don't think we're gonna bring the yellow back though.
I love the yellow.
Yeah.
It's my favorite color, so I'm biased to
What a
it.
weird favorite color.
Is there,
This, I'm a ray of sunshine there, buddy.
there you go. Is there any other
Yeah, right,
highlights
like-
from the town engineer memo that our town engineer would like to point out? I don't believe there was anything substantial in any of our fire, marshal, EMS, or police comments which should be highlighted.
Anything, James?
No, so the only, again, like Kathleen, I just haven't had time to review the most recent submission. I did just try to take a skim through it really quickly. The only thing I want to take a closer look at is just the turning movement provided, just to make sure. But other than that, they've pretty much addressed everything. And the only other comment I had, which was just more to make sure it was discussed tonight and the commission is comfortable, is just the sheer distance of the deferred parking spaces and how that's going to be treated in the future.
Okay, thank you, James.
Yep.
All right, then let's go to the public.
Can I ask a quick question about the floodplain?
Yes.
Where the same spot we're going to put the snow? Is that generally going to be like a dry meadow, you were saying, or is there going to be standing water in there?
It depends, it's gonna drain out, but it will hold water after the rain, it's gonna take water down, if there's an outlet to it, but it's gonna hold the first, I don't know how many inches of water out the top of my head, but it'll have water that, after the rain, and then it go through the storm system and then back out. So it gets treated after that.
How deep is it going to get?
In a water zone, it's gonna fill up 3 or 4 feet deep in, the pond. During a regular, everyday life, it's gonna be pretty much, dry. That's gonna be down where you have a puddle at the bottom.
I'm just concerned about standing water there too long and then you get,
Fortunately, the way that the stormwater treatment regulations are deep as written is that we have to allow a certain amount of water to sit and go down into the ground. That's part of the design criteria. So there's really not much we can do to avoid that. And it does create a little bit of a wetland habitat there too, which is also good next to the river. So, that's not necessarily a negative to the wetlands commission.
Okay.
Any other commissioners' questions before we go to the public? If there are any members of the public here tonight, please raise your hand. I'd like to address the commission on this issue. Come right up. And once again,
Billy Brazino.
name and address.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
talking to the microphone.
You don't have to sign it again.
My question was in regards to the deferred parking spaces. Map that I have here, it shows me that the deferred parking spaces are right alongside that roadway. Okay, and the cars are going to actually access the roadway to get into the parking space, and when they back out, they're backing out into the roadway. That roadway is used by the bicycles on the bike trail. They use that roadway as the bike trail. again, we go back to the way the bike trail was designed and why they're not using the actual bike trail and they're using this roadway instead. Okay. The other thing is there lighting scheduled for here? For this roadway? Where the deferred parking spaces are going to be?
No.
Okay, so it's going to be dark in that area? There's no lighting.
That's not going to be built. It's just in case,
Okay, so
just in case.
in other words, should they plan on building that, they would have to come before you
Improve it.
again.
Right.
Okay, because backing out into this roadway.
No.
Not for us, but they'd have to talk to the town department though.
They have to go to the zoning enforcement officer, but they don't have to come back in front of the planning and zoning commission.
Okay.
But to your point, you know, if we're already putting a condition in there related to employee spaces, we could also just make a mention that they would have to provide adequate lighting, you know, for that as well.
Private lighting, the sidewalks, I imagine, would have to hook up to the space itself.
It's already there.
Perhaps they can make the spaces a little bit deeper so they don't back up into the road. I just. This roadway is a deeded easement. Okay, and the deeded easement says that myself and O'Keefe, next door, number 4 Maple, we actually maintain this roadway. So kind of having a little bit of a problem with a whole bunch of cars backing up into a roadway that I have to maintain. So in regards to curbing, there's nothing along this roadway right now that makes it a roadway. Okay, there's no electrical, there's no runoff for water, there's no curbing, there's absolutely nothing. It's pretty much a driveway. Actually, my driveway at home has got better curbing than this roadway. Okay, so kind of find it a little bit difficult to have all these cars backing up into here based on the amount of bicycles that go through this trail. Okay, so, guys, I want you to keep that in mind, that either the possibility of making the deferred parking spaces a little bit deeper so they're a little bit further away from the roadway. And maybe when they back up, they don't have to back up into the roadway.
Okay.
Or pull out forward. You know, kind of make another little roadway that accesses toward Victoria Drive. Or blend it in with this roadway, but this here is not something that I like at all. All right, that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here tonight would like to address the commission on this application? Please raise your hands. Name and address.
Metropolis again. I think the secondary parking, the remote parking, put a little more thought into it because you probably wouldn't want a young mother walking through there if you ever got to it down the line, or, you know, most of the girls that work at these shops are younger. It's usually not a 200-pound guy that can defend himself. So just think it through. I don't know what the lighting situation is, but I wouldn't want my kid working there if they had to park there. If you have the parking is adequate, that's fine.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Anyone online that would like to comment on this application, please raise your hands.
We have no attendees right now. Everybody has been.
No attendee.
Yes.
Then back to the applicant.
You guys just look into that easement on that driveway and make sure that there's no conflict with putting parking there. Mostly just from like a maintenance person.
Can we pull it up again, just to look at it real quick?
Yeah, is there a easement over that?
I think there is, but I don't think it's exclusive.
I didn't realize it was.
It's a driveway, yeah, I call it a driveway, yeah, over the driveway.
And it's not uncommon to have a parking space back out into a travel lane. or-
That's actually not my concern. I agree with you that that's pretty common, although I would like to know what the dimension of that is. It's more of, I just don't want to make sure you're not constructing something that then they're going to be required to maintain.
That I don't know.
Just to make sure that if for some reason something would have to get amended to make sure that the requirements for maintaining that parking area falls on these owners as compared to, like if you construct something in the easement, I just don't want it to automatically fall to them. If there's some sort of language about maintenance in it.
Yeah. We could look into that. I mean, it's outside of the travel lane.
Correct. I just don't know where the actual lines,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's, if you could just do a little bit of research into that.
It is shown in the agency line on the survey, is the utility access and utility easement that comes through there. So there's water, everything else runs through there.
Okay.
Where is the driveway?
Driveway is right where it says 13 deferred parking spaces, that's the driveway.
That's what she said.
It's not delineated on this map?
It is, it's from.
That's your wetland line there, is it?
Never know. Now, if you look, that's the water line, it's water service, underground water.
Water service.
Sorry. So the driveway is where the edge of the deferred parking spaces are here, that's the one side of it, and this is the other side of it. That's a wide driveway.
And what is it? What's your plans if that is used as a bike path now?
Which is not really.
It's not supposed to be, yes, but-
They're not really, I don't think they're permitted to be using that as a bike path.
We're gonna need to revisit the way it's directed now.
Yeah, they're reconstructing it, so hopefully in that reconstruction, they can divert them down the road.
Off of that road.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so there's the 23 plus 2, again, is a maximum. That's a maximum. 23 plus 2 faculty is a maximum. So, and then 6 spaces for pickup and drop off. We're predicting that this will never be built.
Can you just review the easement on that driveway
Yes.
for us as well?
It's
Okay, so I guess I will keep the hearing open.
So it'll be continued to August 7th.
Anything else? On August 2nd, you'll have the plan, evacuation plan, the other work that's been done in the area.
What was that last one?
Other work that's been done near the Paquonic River there. Yeah, you said there was box culvert. There's
I'll give you an explanation of what was done there to prove that's preliminary flood care. Elevation we think is going to be changed.
you. And we'll go on now to SCP 2025-03, 126 Main Street. Commissioner Condon?
In accordance with CGS 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Thursday, July 17th at 7 PM or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting and in-person attendees located in Monroe Town Hall, Council Chambers. SCP 2025-03, file 1667, 126 Main Street. Application for a special exception permit for proposed renovation of existing building and site improvements for the use of a new gas station and convenience store located at 126 Main Street. Assessor map 012, lot 013/00. Hague LLC applicant, Rose Tizzo and Company LLC representative. Notice was published twice in Connecticut Post on July 3rd and July 10th.
Thank you, Commissioner Condon. And Kathleen?
Exhibit number 1 is the application and plan set provided by the applicant. Exhibit number 2 is the traffic study provided by the applicant. Exhibit number 3 is Town of Monroe Health Department comments. Exhibit number 4 is comments from the Conservation and Water Resource Commission. Exhibit number 5 is the Fire Department comments, Town of Monroe. Exhibit number 6 is Town of Monroe Town Engineer comments. Exhibit number 7 is the certified mail receipts for proof of public hearing. Exhibit number 8 is the Planning and Zoning Administrator report. And that's it.
Okay, for the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Rose, Rose Keystone Company, representing the applicant, ACT LLC. Just to give you a little history of this, this existing 0.96 acre parcel at 126 Main Street previously, we had come in and gotten approval through zoning. Had gone through wetlands, was approved, up to the ARB was approved.
Same group here
It
today.
got approved, yeah, and we went, what happened is it was appealed. Appeal was subsequently, settled, and then it got lost track of finalizing the approval for zoning. So that's the reason we're back here as a new application.
When you say it got settled, what do you mean?
It was settled between the person who appealed and the
It was withdrawn?
No, I don't remember those. I don't know the details of the settlement.
And I can speak to this a little bit. My understanding, and again, this was when I wasn't here, but my understanding is they appealed the decision and then they rendered the decision in favor actually of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the approvals was upheld. So they have a valid approval being upheld by that. However, that is, and I will take the 180 days that they're required to do the endorsed plans from the rendering of the decision of litigation. Those 180 days went by, they didn't submit the updated endorsed set of plans. That's what's making their application null and void. So we are honoring their wetland application because there was no endorsed plans requirements as part of that. We're also honoring their original ARB review because they haven't changed anything to the exterior of the drawings. We're only asking they come back in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission to get a new approval, and then of which case they will have to satisfy the conditions of that approval if it's approved again.
Thanks. So this is the existing site, the existing building. It's our intention to renovate that existing building into a convenience store and a gas station. The gas pumps will be out front of that. The condition of the building needs help, but the renovation is going to take care of that. The site itself, we're going to be working with that site to rehab it and make it functional, which I'll show you in our site plan. Also, what we have in the back is there is an area of pavement that's very close to the wetlands. Some of that pavement is being removed. That's where we're putting in some of our stormwater discharge in that area. So we're reducing the amount of pervious pavement that's on the site close to the wetlands. We're also removing the large fence that's there. So, bit of an eyesore.
Nice.
Our site plan, what we've done, just to go through a couple of the previous conditions of approval, which we've included in this new site plan. The gas islands have been turned 90 degrees such that they are parallel to the street, which was a conditional approval. We have added bollards along the parking at the front of the store to protect the store and people walking on the sidewalk. We have added the requirements from the state of Connecticut DOT District 3, where we have made some off-site improvements to the westerly side of Main Street. What that does is it gives us enough room for somebody to turn left into the site and somebody to bypass that person.
What are the improvements?
Widening the street slightly and changing a little bit of drainage and guardrail in order for us to provide an area for somebody to go by a person turning left.
Right, okay, correct. Thank you.
Those are some of the conditions that have been incorporated into this plan. What we have done, and we've gotten a letter from Kathleen regarding her comments, tried to incorporate those into these new plans that you're seeing. As much as that requirement, we have 20 feet between the front property line and the internal driveway. We have shown that here. So that's been provided. So we have an entrance to the property here and then exit out. So this entrance gives us two ways to access those gas pumps off of this main entrance drive. So that has been accommodated. We have added 3 spaces for EVs, so we have our 10%. Total 2 heads and 4 spaces for electric vehicles for the comment and for the state requirement currently. Anything over 30 spaces, we have 30 spaces. We have the loading space remains where it previously was, in this location right here. So it's easy for somebody to come in and pull into that loading space. The area of the tanks is right in front of that. We have a space for actually air pump in this location. And then what we've done is we have shown 2 deferred parking spaces in this location. And another 2 if necessary. We don't think that's necessary. We meet the requirement for our site with what we have. Dumpster is in this location, and we have provided a new dumpster detail as requested. Masonry enclosure at this point, not fenced enclosure. The site retaining walls that exist will remain in place here and along this property line also. We still have this driveway down to the lower level, some 3 parking spaces there. Over here is where we have removed some of the pavement. Manny will go through drainage and show you, that some of that being used for discharge. We'll jump ahead to I'm just going to jump ahead to the building, go over that quickly since that's area of expertise. The existing building, have a big metal building in the back, wooden structure in front. What we've done is removed what we've done is we've taken down or rebuilding this front structure to put a shed roof up against the metal building and then putting charcoal in front of that, taking the grocery store pipe doors and moving them over to be the main entrance to the convenience store. And then we're putting new siding, new roof on the whole facility, and changing all the windows. And this has been through ARB. They were happy with what we've done, like the gable that we provided off the shed roof. So that's where we are with that. The convenience stores on that first floor, vents are in. Sales carrels here, refrigerators to the rear, bathrooms in this location. Then there's a deli counter actually here, office in the back. Got a little patio off to the left-hand side. Fairly straightforward. The lower level is storage, and the upper level that exists there is storage also. I will let Manny go through more of the site work.
Good evening, Manny Silva from Monroe Season Company, the site engineer representing the applicant. My address is at 35 Brentwood Avenue, Fairfield, Connecticut. As Pat went over the plan, basically the site is as what you see here. You're going to come into the property here, and then you'll have these parallel pumps that you can access, go by them either to left or right. You have some handicap spaces here in the front, and then you'll have a circulation to a parking field here to the left-hand side. You have your EV spaces here. Again, there's a pumping here so you can fill up your tires. One thing Pat was also detailing was that the site itself will be have a reduction in impervious surface from existing conditions. So right now we have more pavement than we will in the future. So we're going to be removing some, and that will be beneficial to the Hornet River, and it will also help us reduce the amount of runoff going off-site. So in the next sheet here, We have 2 drainage systems. I know you guys are having a late night, so I'm gonna keep it quick. We have 2 drainage systems, one here in the front, which is underground galleries that will collect the water in catch basins and then put it through a oil water separator, soil concentrator, so that will remove any suspended solids, any floatables, any oils, any bottles get caught in the actual system. Currently, there's no controls on site. They just go straight into the town's drainage system and out into the Paquonic River. So we have one system here, which will then clean the water, collect it, cool it, infiltrate it into the ground, and it'll help and filter it into the groundwater, kind of mimic what the site would have been if it was a meadow or an open wooded area. We have a septic system here, which is going to be servicing the new building. And then in the back, we have another stormwater control system, which will also have the stormwater go through another oil water separator, soil concentrator, which will slow down that water, let all the suspended solids drop out. And then that will go into a gallery system, which then has an overflow that comes out to this area, which was once paved and a grass slope to the river. We also have a small area here where we remove some pavement and then we put a stormwater quality swale. Since it's kind of lower, we actually lower that area because it is in the floodplain area. So we lowered it to increase the capacity of the river in that area. And then we have that DEP recommended water quality swale, which then the water will sheet flow into, get allowed to get scrubbed by some of the vegetation in there in the stone, and then that will be infiltrated into the ground also. We have, as we are along the river, we have a FEMA floodway line here, and then this other line that's further back is the floodplain. They're very close together in this area due to the existing steepness of the bank there and the retaining wall. What we did was we took the flood study from FEMA and we calculated what the flood elevation in this area would be, and then from the contours that we shot, we created those floods on the property. Again, we don't have it. We only have a positive impact on that flood capacity of the floodplain because we are lowering some of the areas and we're taking out some areas. The next plan is our storm erosion control plan, which is to, during construction, to ensure that there is no, since the site is going to be, it's going to have, it's not going to have any landscaping or pavement. We try to keep that area clean off-site by having silt fences around the property, not allowing any mud or anything during a rainstorm while we're under construction to leave the property. So we have silt fence perimeter right along the river. And then we have some silt sacks in the catch basins themselves so that if it does rain during construction, all that mud is captured in that silt sack, filtered through to and only water gets filtered through to the system itself, so that after we are paved and stabilized, we'll pull those silt sacks out and the system will be clean and ready to go like it was brand new. We have some anti-tracking pads out here in the front near Route 25, and that's to ensure that that's basically a bed of large stone, and that's to ensure that there's no mud or anything being tracked out into Route 25. It gets knocked off. Going on, here's our silt sack detail, which is basically what will happen. We'll be in our catch basins during construction until the site stabilizes and will pull them out. Here's that anti-tracking bed. And then here's our reinforced hay bales. So just as you can see during construction, you'll see the black fencing. Because of the steep slopes around and we're close to the river, we'll actually put a hay bale staked up behind it to kind of give it some structural rigidity so that if water does hit it with a good amount of velocity, it doesn't just flop over or break the stake. It'll be held up by the hay bale behind it. The landscaping plan, similar to the one we had before, except now we have an expanded landscape area here in the front because we're expanding that to 20 feet. It's a basically low growing bushes here in the front with some mulch, and then we have some decorative trees throughout the parking lot and some base landscaping here at the front of the building or the side of the building. Here's our lighting plan. We have a lighting plan that shows the foot candles at the edge of the property and at the wetlands, and at no point in this plan is there to see the 0.25 foot candles off the property that is required in the town of Monroe. In fact, we're below that. In most cases, we're near zero at the edge of the property. Again, the fixtures are night sky compliant, full cutoff with LED blades like this, and they'll have house side shields, meaning that the adjacent property. Then we have our standard details. This is the hydrodynamic separator unit. You have 2 of them on site that's part of our treatment training to ensure that all the water coming from the site is clean. We have this is our overflow discharge to the river, which is going to be, by the way, the water is not just cleaner from the site from the existing condition, but it will also be a lot less. We'll have a reduction of around 60%. So we'll be reducing the amount of flow off the site, but also that flow will be much cleaner than it is today. We have a revised dumpster enclosure, which is a masonry walls with wood fencing, wood fence doors. This is the sign that we anticipate to have out there, but the signage application will come after this approval, that it is approved tonight or in the future. Part of our treatment training is every catch basin has a snout, which is a hooded outlet in every catch basin, and that's to help stop any flow goes inside the actual storm drain itself instead of going down into the hydrodynamic separator. So this is kind of a belt and suspenders approach to the water quality on site. And then here's that drainage swale for that little area behind the garage that the water will just sheet flow into it, be held here, kind of scrubbed and then infiltrated into the ground. The underground gallery system looks like this. It's basically a concrete box with an open bottom with louvers on the sides so that water is allowed to infiltrate into the ground and then filter through the ground and into the groundwater table with some as clean water versus just being discharged at a point into the river or off-site. That's kind of these are just standard construction details. The DOT asked us to do some turning templates in and out of the property. That's what we have here. We're compliant there. And then they asked us to do kind of a phasing construction plan so that we can widen out the roadway on one side so we can have that bypass lane to the right. So if someone's stopped here turning left, they can get around. And this is that detail. And again, we have an approval from the DOT for this work. So they're okay with the application as long as we conduct these improvements, which we are willing to do. There was some comments from the town engineer. I addressed them, most of them. He hasn't seen them. I went over it with him over the phone because we were trying to get to this meeting after he gave us the comments. I can go through them one by one if you want, but I think it should.
Well, we're going to continue the hearing.
Right. Yes. So I don't want to belabor or keep you guys up too much longer. So we'll just leave it at that. That we have it addressed, and then he'll review it, and then we can move forward. If there's any questions for me?
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll start with Commissioner questions on my left.
Yeah, on sheet number SP1, are you guys still taking into consideration demoing the existing canopy?
Existing canopy. There's an existing canopy.
Yeah, there's an existing canopy. That wasn't an existing canopy. Canopy around the side.
That was the canopy that fell and hit the building next to it?
Yeah, it's going on.
Oh, okay. I guess that leads me to my first question. What was the reason for the 180 plus day delay from when the appeal was settled?
What was the reason?
Yeah. Well, what I'm getting at is I don't understand why this site, which has been, not only has it been, it's been a huge eyesore to the town, but it's actually become a public safety hazard when portions of the building are falling onto other people's buildings. What has been the delay?
The delay is that their owner and I assume the attorney representing lost sight of the fact that we needed to come back to the town to formalize the approval after that appeal was settled.
So they just didn't
So
realize.
it took 180 days to realize that?
No, it took much, it's longer than that. So they came to us looking to record the approval because I believe they are
Trying to get a permit.
looking to go into construction at some point soon, and that's when we realized that they had never submitted the endorsement plan.
You're right. Okay, the septic system that's on the property now, is that gonna be a new septic system or are we repurposing the old system?
No, Manny Silva again. The system's gonna be a new, state of art to the new regulation, health department regulations, new septic system. It's going to be, I think we have it specified right here. It's gonna be a new geomatrix system, so.
It's a high maintenance system,
Yeah, but it'll be appropriate for a commercial use.
the fans, and it's gonna be under, impervious surfaces, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's obviously gonna be a maintenance plan attached to that, because if those fans stop working, the system stops working properly, and you know what happens from there.
Right, so, we had more success with these in commercial settings than we do residential.
Yep.
They seem to get, forgotten in a residential setting.
Now what about the, I see on the sign detail that it's 3x5, that's all it really says. Is this gonna be a monument, type sign, or what was the plan for that?
Yeah, it's intended to be a monument type sign, but we would make a separate application for the sign. Which being shown as a representative of what we're doing.
Got it.
We don't want to.
That's even with the gas prices on it, that's still gonna be a tall sign. Are you talking about that being?
No, that's the whole sign that's on the.
Yeah, so that's still gonna be, yeah, they're still gonna most likely have a tall sign for the gas prices.
All right, I'm unclear. Is it gonna be a monument sign or isn't it?
It's a tall sign that is on the side next to Dutchess.
Okay.
So that you have visibility of the gas prices,
Got it.
gas station sign.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have.
We should probably have Kermit, our traffic engineer, just quickly do his thing. That's what it's, yeah, absolutely. Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kermit Hua. I'm the traffic engineer for this. My address is 277 Reservoir Avenue, Unit 101, Meriden, Connecticut. I'll be really quick. The main thing that we went through several iterations during the previous application is the reconfiguration of driveway access option. Now, what we came up with, one access drive, one entry only driveway, one exit only driveway with right turn exit only. The thing that this solves really is to reduce the potential delays of the left turns waiting to turn onto Route 24. As you know, typical on weekdays, especially during weekday morning, weekday afternoon peak hour, I did actually the counts. I was sitting there for several hours. It was pretty bad, especially from the Signals intersection further to the north, the Purdy Hill and the Jet Road with Route 25. So that solves that problem. So for people, if they want to exit and going southbound on Route 25, the easiest way I can see it is use the old Newtown Road, that triangular piece at the Signals intersection, then turn on the Purdy Hill Road and use the left lane and the signal to come back. So that's one of the things we went through with the state DOT. The other thing is, at their recommendation, we accepted the option of widening the southbound lane to about 20 feet. So if you have a left turn, waiting to turn left into the side, through traffic can keep going. They don't have to wait behind it. So that's a big improvement. As far as level of service, because of these, even during busiest weekday peak hours, we will have a level of service still better at the driveway. As you know, at the Signals intersection further to the north is a different, story, especially on the northbound and southbound 25 approach and on the westbound left turn from Purdy Hill Road, we will have some delays in queuing, and that's existing condition. That's not something, we can address. So overall, although this is a gas station, it generates quite a bit of traffic. Most of traffic will be attracted from existing traffic. In other words, the assumption is 62% plus minus trips will be
people already using 25, they'll be, stopped on the side, on their way to somewhere else. So overall, in summary, we are looking at level of service D or better at the two side driveway intersections. And it is my professional opinion on all those gas station traffic will be adequately accommodated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions on traffic while he's here?
That's it.
Okay. All right, so we left off with Commissioner Mayne, general questions.
What are we doing in this front entrance right now? There's gates and all that kind of stuff. It looks like in the middle there, you're gonna add some plantings, correct?
Yeah. In this.
What about the two corner pieces that hold up the fence?
We're adding plantings in this location in center, we're adding plantings on this side.
Are you taking down what was there?
Yes.
On both sides also, even on the side near LNR?
There's large pilasters that hold gates.
Yeah, those are all coming down? Oh, thank God. That place is ugly. Isn't there a wall from you to LNR? Next door? Southbound, yeah, right there.
There's a wall that kind of looks around that on the outside.
And what's the condition of that wall? I can't imagine it being all so good.
Yeah, so that Manny Silva again, the wall's not on this property, it's on the neighboring property, unfortunately.
Whose wall is it?
It belongs to this property here to the side.
It belongs to,
Yeah, if you look closely, Lee, the wall is right here, see right here?
Huh?
So it's off the property. There's a portion of it that kind of turns back into here, but we are gonna once we start doing some work here, we're gonna take a look at it. And then if there is something that needs to be remedied, we'll have to bring that to the attention to the neighbor.
Could affect our site.
Right,
But you're gonna put plantings in there, you've got what, a couple?
right, so we're pulling the pavement away from the wall, we're trying to keep things away from it. We're gonna be putting some landscaping over adjacent to it.
this is probably correct. And you're gonna repave the whole property, obviously, and all that kind of stuff. I know there's garage doors in the back. You're saying that's just solely gonna be for storage? Are you keeping the garage doors? Are you changing them?
We'll be changing them, but it's gonna remain a
There'll
garage.
still be a garage door, just
Easiest way to bring things in now.
for sure. Hours of operation?
6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
I know you have a lot of parking spaces for, how many employees are you predicting? Because you try to have you're not going to sell any cars on this, right? You're not going to do any of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I know there's a recommendation of how many parking spaces you should have. A lot. Okay.
It meets the parking requirement for the.
Yeah, it's not a recommendation, it's actually a requirement.
Yeah. So many things. Go ahead, I'm all set.
They could defer more. I mean, if you feel like it's too much, I think they're only deferring two, you can defer up to 25% if this commission's willing to entertain that.
I don't mind deferring and I don't mind keeping them. I'm just, it's just a lot of parking spaces for a convenience store. I'm assuming they're gonna have 2 or 3 employees at a time and they're not having 15 people work there at a clip. That's the least of my issues with this property. But go ahead.
Okay, Commissioner Ambrose.
I can't stand this property.
Yeah, so you have, like a turning radius for the field truck? When it came in there, do you have any of that?
Yeah, that was provided as.
Have that here, I don't see it here.
Yeah, it's in the set. It's,
Not my.
it should have been. It was, it was created for the DOT specifically. I think this commission too has it. It's well over there. So, this is basically how the fueling truck is going now, right over here. It comes around the island and then back out. Let's just shows one thing.
Well, the fuel tanks are on the right-hand side there when you come in, right?
They're right here, yes, right here.
Right, so when he pulls into there, does he have to back in there, back out of there? How's he?
No, he can go all the way around.
How much of that lane is gonna be blocked while he's there?
So they usually will cone off, here it is. Usually they'll pull in, they'll cone off right here, and he'll be blocking this whole thing here, and then he'll come out. Blocks half the lane. Yeah, so they block half the lane. You can get around them, you'll be able to sneak around them, but he's gonna be blocking most of that lane there.
Even to get to the convenience store, you can get by there?
Yeah, you can get by to the convenience store, sure. Yeah.
Must
You're gonna be able
be-
to come around, you're gonna be able to come around like this and up, or, right.
I don't think you want us to come around the way the arrow says come this way. You want us to go
Yeah.
through the arrow?
Yeah, that's.
I think you should rethink that one.
Right, that's because, that's when the fueling truck will be there.
Right, but if an arrow's telling you to go south and I'm going north on it, that's probably not a good idea, don't you
Right, so
think?
you have to get around here, like this.
Well,
Well, this arrow right here, that's arrow is just a mistake. That's two-way. It's two-way there.
So basically, most of that lane will be blocked?
Yeah, when the fueling truck is there, right now, you can fit two vehicles, it'll be double width, but he's gonna take up one of the sides. But it's all one direction, it's not two-way.
You're saying there's adequate enough room for a car to pass through there?
Correct. Yeah, you can get by.
How many feet is that?
I think, so this right here, it should be around 26 or more. And then you actually, the tanks, he can park on top of the tanks if he wanted to, he's not going to, but this is all open space here.
We can see that? Our engineer looked at it, he didn't have an issue with where fuel truck was gonna be?
Say that one more time.
That's good.
Is he on?
Yeah, James is on.
James, did you look at where the fuel truck was gonna be on? How that was gonna be set up here?
So, this is a slightly different configuration than I've previously witnessed or was previously submitted. So this configuration just hasn't been submitted yet. So I haven't looked at this exact one yet, no.
All right, so then we're gonna leave it open anyway, we'll get, okay.
Yeah, but it's very similar, but it's,
Well, I just wanna make sure that you're not blocking that lane.
okay.
Truck is getting. Then that turns into be a whole different scenario. Because anybody going from the convenience store, they're gonna have to go down on the
Yeah.
outside and then turn back into
So if
the
you
other one.
imagine, this is the length of the truck right here. From here to there, and you move it all the way up to the front of that parking space, we'll have enough room to get around it.
I'm just saying, I want our engineer to look at it, make sure it's like
Yeah.
that. Okay. But you'd have to back up a little bit, right, to get out? Well, no, he's saying he doesn't have to back up. You don't have to back up.
You don't have to
get
back
out.
up into the street, but you can back up, into
He's
our
gonna back up in the
property.
property.
Yeah.
Are you gonna back up to the entranceway? No.
No.
You're sure of that?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. You can see the length of the truck right
Well,
there.
that's why I think our engineer is gonna have to take a look
Yeah,
at it,
it's
see if that's.
gonna be back up to me.
Okay, we're gonna find that out anyway, because he plans on looking at it. All right, that's all I have for now. Commissioner Condon?
No questions.
I just want to piggyback on what was just discussed. So when that fuel delivery truck finishes filling the tanks, he has enough space, I guess you must have calculated, to go around and loop around to get out.
Correct. Yeah, correct. He doesn't have to back out of any, he doesn't have to back out into Route 25, he can go all the way around.
And once he comes out, he could only go
To the
Right.
right.
to the right. Okay. That's it, that's all I want. One other question now. You said that you're gonna enlarge Route 25?
Yeah, we're gonna widen it to one side, yes.
I go by there 3 or 4 times a day and I get congested over there, so that's my only concern.
Yeah, so the DOT wanted us to, as a car comes here and tries to turn, they wanted us to widen this side out so that a car can go around them.
Thank you.
Yep.
No questions for me.
Oh, okay, well, I think it's a good plan. It'd definitely be an improvement. We, like, Commissioner Westland said, I've been waiting for 2 years to see it being improved. Especially removing the impervious surface, putting the plantings in. No, I think it's a good plan. So if there's no other questions, we'll go to the, thank you. We'll go to the public now. If there's anyone from the public that would like to comment on this application, please raise your hands. Is there anyone online that doesn't look like it? Those are just our people, Kathleen.
There's one person as an attendee, but they don't have their hand raised.
Please raise your hand if you're online and have a question I'd like to address the commission. Saying none and none here. Any more questions up here? All right, so we're going to leave the hearing open.
Staff's they're gonna submit hard copies of the updated plans. Staff will review it against our comment memos, and issue out, new memos. And we can review at the next meeting.
I'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now we have our Kathleen plan. We have 4 text amendments that we've been talking about in the subcommittee for some years now. I believe these are going to move forward, hopefully.
Eventually.
All right, our first item is RAA 2025-08, file number 1045, petition application for regulation amendment to amend the zoning regulations, section 3.1.3C9, boats and RVs, accessory uses. Do you have, did she print you out the?
I was just gonna ask, did you do notices?
No notices?
We did.
You know this.
It's not.
I just got 2 copies of, other notice, which is probably the error.
I'm a lot sharper when I want to go home. All right.
So there are notices?
Hold on,
And on that,
I find the.
do have a deliberation loading. Deliberate on one item. Subdivision.
Whatever, Mike, why don't you do whatever you want?
So I pack up.
I'm unpacked. You want to go home?
Yeah. Well,
All right.
it's only 9:30.
No kidding.
In accordance, hold on, I'm gonna take that off. In accordance with Connecticut General Statutes, Section 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, July 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, for 4 regulations, RAA 2025-08, file number 1045, petition application for regulation amendment to amend the zoning regulation, section 313C9, boats and RVs accessory uses. RAA 2025-09, file number 1046, petition application for regulation amendment to amend the zoning regulation, section 6315B, illuminated signs. RA 2025-10, file number 1047, petition application for regulation amendment to amend the zoning regulation, section 221, 31110, 31211 to regulate permanent and temporary metal storage containers, and RAA 2025-11, file number 1048, petition to amend zoning regulations 221 and 948 to create exemptions for the certificate of zoning compliance. They're published in the CT Post twice, July 3rd, 2025, July 10, 2025. Do you say anything else? I listen to you say it all the time and I don't always know exactly what it is. So that's for all four. So that's the public hearing for all.
Yeah, it's silly.
Guys, pay attention, please.
What's going on?
Go ahead.
All right, so the first one is for boats and RVs. This was prompted from the fact that our existing regulations had a 100-foot setback for boats and RVs and people's property. It was requested that this be reduced in order to line more with our setbacks for each of the zoning regulations. So it's going to be in our accessory uses for our RF1 zones. It's going to be number 9, which lists all the accessory units. 9 says recreational vehicles or boats may be parked or stored on premises, provided it originally said they are suitably screened and kept at least 100 feet away from the property line. We're changing that to they are not parked in the front of the principal building or in any required side or rear yard setbacks, and suitable all year screening is provided and maintained. So they cannot be the front of the building. They can't be anywhere forward of that. And they can't be in the side and rear yards, which is 25 feet in RF1 zones and 30 feet in RF2s and 3s. So they can be 26 feet from the property line in RF1 zone, 31 feet. So it can't be in the actual setbacks, but it's not 100 feet from each property line. Any
questions?
Smaller properties can have houses or boats and RVs now. Parked on.
Screened.
smaller lots, yeah, technically can't. However, the truth of the matter is
They're there anyway.
they're there anyway.
Screened.
Already,
Oh,
really.
yeah, they're already doing it. Yeah, no, very well.
I don't think we're gonna see an influx
Yeah.
of more boats and RVs. I think just,
Probably a ton of people follow the rules.
I just think it actually legalizes a lot of what's already happening in town.
Okay, do we have anybody online? Bill?
No.
One person.
So if there is public participation, if it's anyone,
James is still online as the town engineer. Do you want him on for deliberations? I mean,
the deliberations.
Good night, James.
Just-
Good night, James.
so yeah, if we want to excuse him.
As long as Bill
Yeah,
Guitar's here, we're good.
Have a good night, everybody.
James,
So we do have one,
one attendee, but
so if anyone online would like to address the commission on this application, please raise your hand. If not, no other questions. Want to move on to the next one? Did you read the notice for all of them?
I read it for all four.
Okay.
So we just had to do it.
2509.
So our AA 2025-09 is for illuminated signs. We went through our flag sign enforcement endeavor last year. We geared up at the beginning of this year to do illuminated signs because there's a lot of businesses that have signs in their windows. However, when we looked at the regulations, because what we're going to do is do it the same way that we did the flag signs, which is we inventory all the signs. Then we send letters to everybody, so it's fair enforcement, and then we enforce it amongst the entire town at one time. When we went to write the letter, we realized our zoning regulations weren't as clear as we would like them to be in order to do proper enforcement. And 2, it would prohibit any sign. So that means even a lit up open sign was not going to be able to be permitted, which we felt like wasn't practical. We believe that people should be able to have open signs. However, my original first run at this, you can see from the text, it's for under sign illumination, internally illuminated signs, flashing signs, LED signs, exposed neon tubing, and bare bulb signs are prohibited within windows, except for one internally illuminated open sign not exceeding 24 inches by 18 inches in size. After I wrote this, I did a little research. I can't regulate speech that way. I can't specifically say they can only have open signs. That's actually against our First Amendment. I can't tell you what can be on the signs or what you can't have on the signs. I can only regulate the size of it. So I do have an updated version that basically just takes out the word open sign. It just says illuminated sign not exceeding 24 inches by 18 inches in size. We'll also tell you our Director of Community and Economic Development, who is a resident in town, so he sees the signs at night often. He, has kind of made the argument that there are also signs in towns that he doesn't feel like are egregious, but that are beneficial to the businesses. And so if we just take out the open sign, it would also allow them one sign, although 18 by 24 isn't really a big sign, but it would allow them one sign if they did want to put one sign that says beer in the window or fresh, whatever it is. So the question to this commission is, do you think the size is right sized, considering we are trying to allow our businesses to
Yes.
do advertisement? Is 24 by 18 the right size? And are there any other questions or comments related to that?
No, I'm good on that. Any other questions?
But the size is good, but does it say that particular sign can't be flashing or super bright?
There's no flashing, right?
Yeah, we use the word super bright.
I said no flashing.
No.
It does, that's actually a really good point.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Internally
Use the
illuminated
word
signs,
super bright.
flashing signs, LEDs, exposed neon, and bare bulb signs are prohibited within those except one internally illuminated.
But not flashing.
I'm gonna say I feel like it's clear because we name internally illuminated and flashing signs as two separate types of signs. So we're only saying except for one internally illuminated sign, which I would say doesn't allow it to be flashing, doesn't allow it to be neon tubing or bare bulb.
Because it was described in the other section.
I would be in favor of any, the size of a sign that helps business.
Yeah.
Right, but you don't want to drive down and look like Vegas either.
That kind of sign.
You don't want a seizure when you're looking at it.
Right. Any other questions?
That's it.
Things in yellow.
Do we go to the public on this one?
Yeah.
Member of the public would like to comment on this?
Just because your wardrobe
Please
is
raise your hand.
black, doesn't mean that yellow's
See
not
none?
a problem.
Let's move on to RA 2025-10.
Sure you agree.
Yeah, I know.
Should have read.
I don't know why I love you guys. I really don't.
I've never seen you in a yellow shirt.
I didn't say I was wearing a yellow shirt. I just said yellow is my favorite color. Oh, I'm a ray of light, unlike you miserable humans.
Moving on.
All right,
Be in the Monroe
2025-10. This is being prompted by, we have had several installations of yellow metal storage containers in town. And when we scrutinize our own zoning regulations, we don't have anything that prohibits them in our residential zones. So this regulation is written in order to rectify that. It was reviewed by our town attorney at 4:00 this afternoon.
When he was in Colorado for something.
He was boarding a plane.
I'm sure he went through it really well. I'll pass it down.
So what is in front of you is a slightly revised version from what you had before. He added a additional definition under temporary storage containers, and he changed some of the language to be a little more legalese. I had must in some locations. He changed it to shall, but nothing substantial related to content with the exception of that one definition. So this would be, we would be changing two different areas. One, the general zoning terms. So we would clearly define what a storage container is and what a temporary storage container is. The storage container is a self-contained steel or metal container typically used in the transport of goods, but which also may be used for the storage of materials. Temporary storage container is a storage container situated upon real property for an initial period not to exceed 3 months and a total period not to exceed 6 months. In a residential and farming district, that is where we include all of our accessory uses. RF2 and RF3 revert back to referencing the accessory uses in RF1, so we only have to change it in one section. And we would be adding section number 10, which says storage containers may be permitted as an accessory use on residentially zoned properties through issuance of a zoning compliance certificate subject to the following provisions. The property shall have a minimum of 3 acres and shall be recognized as an agricultural farm by the state of Connecticut and registered with the Connecticut Department of Revenue Services. Storage containers shall not be located in the front yard area between the principal dwelling and any street line. Storage containers shall adhere to all applicable setback requirements for accessory structures as defined in these regulations. Storage containers must be equipped with lockable doors to secure contents. The storage of hazardous material or dangerous goods within a storage container strictly prohibited. Storage containers shall be adequately screened year-round by fencing, landscaping, or a combination thereof as to minimize visibility from adjacent residential properties and public streets. So basically, we're prohibiting it on typical residential properties, but we do have a couple properties in town in our residential zones that are registered agricultural farms with the state, and we don't want to prohibit them from being able to use this on site because they are a functioning agricultural farm, and they're going to use it for agricultural reasons, but we want to make sure it's properly screened, not a nuisance to the neighbors. We do still want to permit temporary storage containers, so temporary storage containers may be permitted in residential zoning districts upon issuance of a zoning compliance certificate. Temporary storage containers shall be permitted for an initial period not to exceed 3 months. One extension not exceeding an additional 3 months may be granted at the discretion of the zoning enforcement officer. So to be able to manage people's dumpsters, pods, things like that, that they're used for moving, we want to give them some flexibility, but we want to make sure we can enforce it so it doesn't become a permanent structure.
Thank you.
Great job.
Any questions on 10?
We're not outlawing the caboose in town, are we?
It's a caboose.
There's a train parked in a yard, a train car.
It's an accessory dwelling
that's okay?
structure.
Just wanted to make sure.
It's in a.
That's kind of like, you know, yeah. I don't want to be zoning that out. I grew up with that thing being there.
I think it's grandfather.
I
Within my
hope so.
farm, within farm, okay?
Uh-huh.
If you have, like I have storage containers, people have storage containers on their farms already.
And this is permitting it on registered farms.
It's permitted on registered farms?
Yes.
That's right, but you have to get a zoning compliance certificate?
No.
Moving forward, yes. So as of whenever this would take effect, if you approved it, moving forward, you'd have to come and you have to get a ZCC.
What are the requirements for that? Like,
It's $110 fee and we usually will print something out from GIS. We'll draw it on the map. We'll say storage container, and then you're on your way. We try to make it pretty simple. I think we treat it the same way as a shed, whereas we want to have something document to enforce. So if you move it somewhere else, we're like, no, we had agreed it would be in this location, but we're not going to make you get a survey. We're not going to make you go through that. It's just making sure we have something.
any hoop houses or anything like that is gonna be required to have
You said hoop houses?
hoop houses?
We had talked, you and I had talked, and the rest of the subcommittee at the last meeting that we were going to do that as our next round. So in the next round of regulations, we were going to address hooped houses and then also address specifics related to other structures in agricultural zones. You had made the request of not even requiring a ZCC for some of those other structures for registered farms.
Right.
I think it was agreed by subcommittee that in this particular situation for storage containers, they did want it to include a ZCC, but that we take a look at it for other specific structures like hoop houses during the next round of regs.
This doesn't include hoop houses, no.
Okay.
Any other questions?
But yes, this does require ZCC.
Any questions from the public on this amendment? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll move on to amendment RA 2025-11.
Still amending?
Best amendment.
Same comments. This was reviewed by the town attorney later in the day. He did have a couple comments related to, you could pass those down. Legal items, just making sure that we were consistent with some of our language within the regulations. They were very good comments. This text amendment is being prompted by the fact that the way our zoning regulations are written, basically anything that you do requires a certificate of zoning compliance. If you take down one tree, it requires a certificate of zoning compliance. If you move a little bit of dirt from one area to another, it requires a ZCC. If you put in a tree house, we had someone come and wanted to put a tree, technically you need a ZCC because the way our definition is written related to it being a structure and having an attachment to the ground, even though it's via a tree. So we have a very, very strict, certificate of zoning compliance, which is 941A, which is that first section. So what we wanted to do is create a list of exemptions that requires you to not have to get a ZCC. It doesn't mean it doesn't have to be in compliance with the zoning regulations. You still can't put a playhouse right on your property line being a nuisance to your neighbors, or a play structure, but you don't have to come into us to get a ZCC to put in, a best in backyards play structure in your backyard in the middle of your lawn. So we are adding a new zoning term, which is a tree. Our town doesn't have a zoning regulation definition for tree, which is actually really important. So we are designating that as any woody plant having at least one well-defined trunk, at least 6 inches in diameter, measured at the height of 4 feet above the natural grade, and having a clearly defined crown, so we can decide what's a tree. So if somebody's just taking out some brush, you're not taking out a tree. So the question is, what's a tree? This is how we define what a tree is. 941A, right now, currently it's written, approval of an application of a certificate of zoning compliance shall be required from the zoning enforcement officer or designated agent thereof prior to any land being used, altered, cleared of vegetation, grubbing, disturbed, graded, filled, changed, or otherwise altered in any physical way, in whole or in part, and prior to any building or structure, including signs, lights, being erected, constructed, reconstructed, extended, enlarged, altered, relocation, or used in whole or in part, including a change of use. So that basically covers everything. So we're adding, except with such work is limited to, 1, fences, installation or alterations of fences not exceeding 6 feet in height. I do believe that's clear in our regulations, but we wanted to make sure it was extra clear that you do not need a permit for fence. Most people will come in and still talk to us, which we highly recommend they make sure they know where their property line is, so they're putting it on their property line, but we do not make them get a certificate of zoning compliance. Roof mounted solar panels, installation of solar panels mounted flush to a roof surface. Solar panels are considered mounted flush when they are parallel to the roof surface, with no part of the system rising more than 18 inches perpendicular to the roof surface, and with no part of the system rising above the roof ridge elevation. So you don't have to get a ZCC from us if you're just doing work on the roof for solar panels, but you can't put a solar panel that sits 3 feet off the ground, because now you're changing the architectural structure, and we do want to see what's going on, and I have the ability to get to you guys or to ARB if it would be necessary. Play structures, construction or alteration of play structures, including but not limited to tree houses, playhouses, play equipment structures, or other accessory play structures, provided such structures shall not exceed 100 square feet in floor area or be installed on a permanent foundation and shall not be operated for profit or used as a residence. Play structures do not include structures that house animals as outlined in section 313 of these regulations, or structures used for general storage. Play structures shall conform to the applicable bulk zoning standards and setback requirements as delineated in these regulations. So you can't make a playhouse that's on a concrete foundation, but you can install a playhouse you bought off the shelf that you put on a gravel pad, just as long as it's not a permanent structure. Excavation and filling. Excavation and filling is outlined in 641 of these regulations. In part of the recently adopted excavation and filling regulations, we created a list of exemptions. It allowed a certain amount of cut and fill to be done as long as it was minor. If you're just grading your backyard a little bit one way or the other, creating a new planting bed, things of that nature, you don't need to get an excavation and fill permit. But if you're doing something that would change the stormwater on the site that could become a nuisance to your neighbors, you will have to get a permit. But this allows minor excavation and filling on site without someone having to come in. And the last one is tree removal. The removal of 5 trees or fewer, each with a diameter at breast height of less than 18 inches, provided that such trees are located outside the wetland and upland review area. So if you have some dead and dying trees that are still intact, you can remove up to 5 of them without getting a permit. But if you start going above 5, you could potentially be affecting screening, you could be affecting your neighbors, you could be doing other things, then you start getting to potentially clear cutting. We just want to make sure that you come to us for a ZCC.
Okay, any questions on number 11?
Is the tree like within, at the same time? Like what if somebody takes down one tree every 2 years or something?
You know, that's a really good question. We could put a time period associated on it. So tree removal, the removal of 5 trees or fewer, each with a diameter breast size, provided the trees are located outside of the wetland review area.
Per year?
Yeah, the removal of 5 trees or fewer, how about within, you want a year, within a 12-month period?
Sounds great.
So you're saying that even if you have a tree that is in an area that houses farm animals and stuff like that, and it's
A tree that houses farm animals.
a tree that's in an area that where.
It's just special animals. I didn't say the house part, that.
You gotta call about how many pigeons could someone have a problem the other day?
And a
What was the
tree-
answer?
And a tree is dead. The tree is dead. Do you have to come in for a zoning compliance?
If you have.
It's over
6
18
of
inches.
those,
Trees. Yeah.
yes.
You have what? 5 of
You
them.
have 6 of those trees, yes.
Over
you can
18
come in for a
inches
ZCC.
in width.
Take one tree that's,
You're fine.
Yeah,
just
they're under 5.
talking about, you're just describing it as
18 inches though.
Yeah,
18 inches high, right?
No, wide.
18 inches DBH,
Diameter. Diameter.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, saying height wise.
No, it's the diameter.
Trees, you know, that are 18 inches.
There's none. That's why I was asking.
It's-
Trying to read this over here, what she's saying that it has to be at least 6 inches in diameter. What is this other one up front? The fine trunk is at
That's just
least 6
defining what
inches.
a tree is.
That's just defining what a tree is.
So you're saying 18 inches in diameter,
It's when you
You're
have
not
to get a
taking
ZCC
bigger than that.
18 inches in height is big.
of a diameter. Breast size, yeah.
Almost 99% of the trees you take out are
bigger.
bigger than 18 inches in diameter.
They mostly are. True. They are.
So that's,
Yeah, we're gonna let you take out the little small ones.
Why do we
So
have
that's
to
a
have
big
18
tree,
inches in
18
diameter?
inches.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to make you have to come in for a ZCC for small trees.
No, I understand that, but why do we have it determined at 18 inches? Where'd that come from?
We just think that that
When they grow in the area.
rises to the level of needing a compliance, zoning compliance certificate.
18 inches is too small.
You think 18 inches is too small?
Yeah.
If you're taking 6 trees out at 18 inches, you don't think that's going to have an impact?
But you can take one 20 diameter tree out without anything.
Yes.
But
Because I don't want to inhibit people that have trees that are dying or really old, or could be a
Yeah, I don't.
hazard or fall out of
Yeah,
the
18
house.
inches, a lot of them around now. There's a ton.
We do want to allow people to take out a couple trees just for safety without having to come to us.
A ton of trees dead. and it's-
Within 100 feet.
Any other questions?
Sounds good.
Well, wait, are people okay with 18 inches?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm not really okay because there's trees that are
It's-
dead, they're nuisance, that cause harm.
Yeah, but if it's more than 6, you leave it. If it's less than 6, you can take it. You can take them out without having to come in front of them.
But the ones that are less than 6,
No, less than 6 trees.
In my backyard.
Yeah, yeah.
Really tough.
So if you have one 40-inch diameter tree,
I could take it out.
Yeah,
You just
don't
take
tell
it out.
anyone. Bury it in
if
your-
you have 5 of those, you can take it out.
1 week,
If you've got 6,
go get
Yeah, come
one out.
Most of the ones that cause danger are bigger than.
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's why you can take up to 5 out without coming to see the department.
Within a year.
18 inches or more.
18 inches
Take one out a week.
or more, 5 trees that are 18 inches or more.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
All right, but if you go next week.
All right, I was misunderstanding it also.
No, if you take like 5 per year though, that could add up.
Everybody good with that now?
Yeah, all right.
Maybe every 2 years.
Is there anybody online that would like to comment on this application, or anybody in
Yeah,
the
if you take out
audience?
5 of those trees, that's a lot.
Yeah, every year, that's,
Here, I'm changing the wording. 18 inches or more.
Yes, that's where it was getting confusing.
That is where it's getting confusing. I agree with you.
No one from the audience commenting?
But every year, if you did that, that's a lot.
I know, but how many people are gonna sit there and look at their calendar and get red flag?
No one, but I'm just saying
The
there's,
guideline.
It's 50 trees in a year.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's deliberate and vote on these.
well, do you want to do these first or do you want to do 2 Victoria subdivision?
Started to Victoria Drive.
Victoria Drive, well, I figured you'd do it all at once, no? You're saying?
No. I'll make a motion to approve.
there's all
Subdivision, just a subdivision. The other one's
The other
not
one's
closed.
It's not closed.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
subdivision's closed.
So we can deliberate.
Right.
But you gotta explain it to Leon about 78 times before he understands.
I said, why don't we just do it all at once?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Yeah, one's closed and one's open.
I'm making a motion to approve SUV 2025-03 file 12802 Victoria Drive as drafted.
Okay, a motion.
Well,
London.
you don't have an approval drafted, so
We don't have.
We have a second by Westland.
But we don't even have a draft.
you don't have the approval drafted. I mean, I have one, but no one directed me to do one, so I don't have one for you. So
We can deliberate now, which is what we're doing.
Yeah, you know.
So if you want to do a motion to approve it, I would strongly suggest we add a condition that the easement is subject to final review and approval by the town attorney. Again, I talked to the town attorney today. He doesn't have an issue with the conveyance in general, but he really takes strong exception to some of the language. He wants to just make sure it's protecting the town. So it sounded like the applicant was amenable to having that be basically at their discretion. And that the content within the easement related to the parking area will not be limited to a specific number of spaces. Right now, it's written as 2. Sounded like from the discussion, we wanted to remove that. So that would also be a condition of the approval. And then again, as we mentioned, please take note that this is would include a waiver for 11303C, and that we are not requiring sidewalks as part of this.
Okay, any other discussion?
Nope.
No discussion? All right.
You sure you don't want this written up first?
I'm okay with it not being written. I went through and I did my due diligence, but I will never write an approval for you guys unless you ask me to, because I'm not swaying you one way or the other.
Are we ready to vote?
If you want to vote with those, make a motion though with those conditions.
Those conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve SUB 2025-03 file 12802 Victoria Drive with the conditions of attorney approval of the language and the
Removing the parking spaces.
moving of the parking spaces.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second by Westland. We'll call the roll, starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
Rosie, yes.
Riley, yes.
Mine, yes.
Westland, yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next.
What, did you use the book?
That's it. Yeah, REA 2025, this is number 8. This is the boats and RVs.
All right.
Motion.
I make a motion to approve RAA 2025-08, file number 1045 as drafted.
Motion by Mayini. Second by Condon. Any further discussion?
Nay.
Call the roll, starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
Rosie, yes.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mine, yes.
Westland, yes.
Motion passes. Next, RA 2025-09. This is the illuminated sign application.
I make a,
I would just add that there's one change, which is, it says, except for one internally illuminated, non-flashing sign. Let's just make sure we put the
I'll make a
non-flashing there
motion
to.
to approve RA 2025-09 file 1046 with the addition of one internally illuminated, non-flashing sign.
Thank you. We have a motion by Condon.
second.
Second by Mayini. Call the roll, starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
And Rosie, yes.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mine, yes.
Westland, yes.
Passes.
Damn, son.
RA 2025-10. This is the regulation on permanent and temporary metal storage containers.
So we were going to,
Only approve yellow ones.
no, I don't think this had any changes.
I make a motion to approve RAA 2025 file 1047 as drafted.
Second.
Who's the official second?
Mayne,
Condon.
Mayne.
Condon and Mayne, and, did you want to, did you have an amendment to that?
No.
No, okay.
Not this one.
Call the roll, starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mayne, yes.
Watson, yes.
Passes.
Oh.
Final, RA 2025, this is number 11, file 1048. This is the
Tree stuff.
exemption.
I'll make a motion to approve RAA 2025.
Can you let her go first?
File 1048 with the addition of greater than 18 diameters and
Within the 12-month
in
period.
the 12-month period. I remember that.
Okay.
18
motion,
diameters?
Condon.
18-inch diameter.
We have a second?
Second.
Second,
I think
Westland.
you asked, I apologize.
Okay, call the roll, starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mayne, yes.
Watson, yes.
All text amendments have been passed.
Let's go.
We have minutes in front of us.
Okay, but thanks, guys.
We love giving Kathleen more work.
We have the minutes from 6/18/25. You all have them.
Oh, wait, we have new application. Do you care?
Oh, you want to do that first? Or-
This 169 Enterprise Drive is coming in at the next meeting on August 7th. It is a very similar situation to 127 Main Street, which is that they never recorded the resolutions or filed the endorsed set of plans. They also made some minor changes to the septic system and a little bit of the stormwater, so they'd have to come in for an amendment anyway. But because they never submitted the endorsed set of plans, they're actually coming in for a new application. So you've seen it before, but they have made some changes to the building and some other things. So they had to come in no matter what, but they're coming in for a new application as compared to amendment.
Okay. Pending meeting minutes, 6/18/25, you have them in front of you. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as drafted.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as drafted. 6/18/25.
A motion by Westland.
Second.
Second.
Mayne.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Condon abstain.
Condon abstain.
I wasn't there.
Motion passes. Minutes are accepted. Do you have anything else, Kathleen?
Yes. Talk to the owners of 143 Purdy Hill Chipotle. They will be planting shrubs in front of the fence, but they asked to do it this fall in order to make sure it was more successful because they don't have an irrigation system. So big thank you to them for
Very nice.
doing that for us. We had subcommittee earlier this month. We were talking about apartments over commercial buildings, just up to 2 total units, only studios or 1 bedrooms. We had a very small group. We're very split on the matter. So Chairman O'Reilly had asked that we revisit this at another meeting. So we'd like to schedule a subcommittee where we think that we might be able to have a little more attendance. I know it's the summer, but this is something we are trying to rectify.
The only matter of business for the subcommittee?
There's been a couple people asking if we were gonna have a subcommittee meeting to maybe put something on, but nobody has been like, yeah, I definitely want on this meeting.
We're gonna do it in August.
We would do it in August.
So how do we feel? We can talk about it now for a minute, can't we?
Yeah.
Sure.
How do we feel about allowing 1 or 2 apartments of pre-existing structures in town?
So it'd be what we consider an adaptive reuse. The thought process is it's only in B1, B2, or LOR zones. It would allow several of existing buildings, mostly located in the Stepney area on Main Street, to legalize current apartments that are on second floors. And then with an existing option to do it either in all B1 or B2s or just in existing apartments, which I think is where we kind of landed. And then there would be several other commercial buildings, existing ones that if they couldn't find tenants for the second
Existing
floors,
structures,
existing structures.
Existing structures,
not
turn them into
existing
apartments.
apartments.
Right.
Yeah, so it'd be both. They'd legalize existing apartments
Plus other existing.
and then it would allow the addition of apartments for other existing structures.
I was pretty vocal during the subcommittee meeting about not having a problem legalizing the pre-existing non-conforming structures. Make them come up to code, make them meet the health requirements for septic and safety. So I have no issues with that. I'm not in agreement with adding apartments above all of our buildings that are required, that are asking for it at this point. I don't think that that's in the spirit of what direction we were trying to head in when we were putting together the special design district and trying to get our foot in the door with higher density applications that we're approving. I know none of them have come to fruition, but we haven't had a chance to really review it.
Okay.
How do we prove a pre-existing, like, how do they prove a pre-existing
Well,
apartment?
that's what I'm saying. How do you go about that? Is that
So
a
if
case
it's-
by
It won't
case?
matter in this case because we're going to allow it.
No, is that a case
Well,
by
it
case?
would with what Rob's saying, it would matter.
Yeah.
So if it's,
It won't happen, but it would matter.
Are we considering just pre-existing
You're saying it's
apartments though?
I don't think, no, because
We're not considering that.
We're not considering what Rob's
Now, you're
asking.
trying to make.
I don't think there's a way for you to do it just for the existing. Now, someone can come in and they can tell me they have a pre-existing non-conforming apartment, which means they have to prove to us that that apartment was either in existence predating the zoning regulations or that they got it permitted. There was a point in history where they were able to get that apartment permitted legally and they have to provide that information to us, or we have to find it in the record files, which is hard to find from
That's a case by case.
60s, 70s, 80s. But we don't have to require for them to come up to code. If they can prove that it's grandfathered in, they don't have to meet the existing septic code unless for some reason they would make improvements. One of the arguments for this was the fact that there's a lot of buildings that exist like this that aren't really in great shape and condition. And we don't actually know the reason why they've never been updated, even just aesthetically, but they can't pull a building permit on an illegal apartment because if they bring it forward to us, we're going to tell them they can't do it. They don't have a legal apartment, up there. So the hope was if we can maybe help them legalize it, will they be willing to make some improvements, which is a gamble. You don't really know what's going on. And there was apprehension that actually wouldn't come to fruition. Instead, we're just allowing them to legalize all these apartments.
It's like,
I have a question. Which segment of the population we would help if we opened up?
We know as a commission that we have an age-restricted housing zoning regulations, and that zoning regulations allows both detached dwelling units and duplexes, and the only one that has been constructed is the attached dwelling units, and those are going for $700,000, $800,000. So it's not really downsizing unless your house is already at over $1 million. And so we have the opportunity to do accessory dwelling units to help people age in place, and people do take us up on that. But we are hoping to create some more studio one bedrooms for older widows, people that are looking to downsize, to allow them some option to be able to stay in town if they wanted to choose to for their grandchildren. And then the opposite side of things. So people, young professionals, people getting divorced that don't have children, so that just they have the opportunity to be in town. So it would only be studio efficiencies or one bedroom apartments. We would not permit it for 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, because now you have the potential of adding children, which we already know we have a school population issue. So we're not looking to contribute to that. We're just trying to diversify the housing population a little more than what we are currently have been able to do with the multi-use that we've been able to permit that hasn't been.
So if we stayed with those restrictions, what would be the harm, I'd say, if we extended the whole corridor of, let's say, Main Street?
All people not following the restrictions, and they're very difficult to police. You don't really know what they're gonna do with these spaces, traffic.
Okay, I understand.
Most of the people that are asking for this are the landlords on the strip that are not taking care of any of their properties. I don't see how this, they're trying to fill spaces that don't allow residential occupants. They knew this when they bought the building, and now they're up at arms saying we can't fill these because we bought property that we just can't fill because it doesn't meet zoning
They
regulations.
thought they were gonna get businesses or offices,
Or they
which
come in
that
front of
market
you
is
saying,
falling.
give me the apartment and then I'll do.
Right. So
So what do you think?
I don't want the apartments at all. If they want to legalize what's there and we can't do anything about it and they're held to current, health standards, then by all means, legalize those units, but they will not meet the standards for septic in any case that I could think of.
I will also say, and again, I'm here to support this commission, so however you want to proceed, I'm here to support.
What's your opinion?
But can I just mention one thing that we have talked about as staff? We all know that HB 5002 got vetoed by the governor. He did say that he was trying to put it on for the special session that's happening in the fall in hopes that it gets slightly revised and it does come down. We are expecting this to come down the pike at some point again in the next couple years. So the hope would be if we can gain momentum in a specific part of town that we are generally okay with, I mean, not ideal, but generally okay with having some residential units mixed in with those commercial areas. The Stepney area is the most walkable-ish, part of our town. So if we start gaining momentum in that one area, then hopefully when people can come in as a right and put residential units in a commercial district without even coming before this commission, they're also going to put it in those specific places instead of hodgepodging it. You'll get developers from out of town that we don't really know that are just trying to make a buck, and they're just going to pick whatever lot that they can and turn it into residential. Whereas this, then are not able to regulate, but hopefully encourage development in one particular section. So if we can start momentum in that one way, it would hopefully benefit us down the line.
I just don't see how starting the momentum helps us in the end anyway. I don't think it's going to have any impact when this comes down. I think it's going to be the chips are going to fall where they may. I don't think anyone's going to look and say, boy, these guys have a pretty good track record of trying to do the right thing. So let's follow suit.
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening.
I'd like to get some other opinions. Do we know?
I'm torn on the apartments. I mean, I think there's a huge need for them and I think there's specific spots to get them. But I also understand where Rob's coming from. We've also approved so many and not one has taken.
Yeah, multifamily, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's also a good start to see kind of how it was going to go, but we've approved so many and
it's the proper way to do it, in my opinion.
it is the proper way to do it, but they've also been approved and nothing's happened. So we don't even have a baseline to say, oh, this would work, this wouldn't work. I also hate the fact where people would come in front of us and be like, well, if you give me these apartments, then I could take care of the property and I could do that. So I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, well, Rob, we gotta give him an apartment so that he can take care of his property. Those apartments aren't legal right now, so we should take care of your property anyway. I'm just really torn on the whole apartment thing. It's in my head, originally it started off as, let's try to keep some youth in town. Let's try to keep some elderly in town without spending $700,000-800,000 to buy some of these age-restricted homes. And to be honest with you, we've lost we've done, I think we as a commission and as a town are proactive in it where we say, hey, yeah, come do this, but no one's done it and we don't have a baseline to gauge off of it. So I'm really torn. I'll be honest with you, I'm really, really torn.
Kathleen, what's going on with the property on Main Street behind Dunkin' Donuts that we approved with all those apartments?
These are two different things, though.
Yeah, they are two different
Are you
things.
talking about 10 and 36 Main Street?
No, the little Keeler property.
Like Dunkin' Donuts, sir.
The mark.
Oh, I haven't heard anything.
It's probably finance. They just.
Like I said, I'm sort of like with Rob in a way too. I don't think that, I think it really comes down to the commission to go, instead of somebody coming in here and trying to push us to do it. I don't want to be pushed to do anything. I would think that the commission should come up with our own plan on how we want to handle something like this. Not by people coming in and trying to push their way into doing this. They bought the property. I understand that, they can't get commercial space and they can't use it, and they want to try to turn it into something else, but I don't think that comes down to where it's this commission's problem. I think our problem is to look into the future of what we need to do as far as what the state wants and everything like that, but I don't think that this commission should be, every person that comes into the subcommittee that wants to change something, that I don't think that the way it should be. I think.
Well, we haven't been that way.
No, but I mean,
Oh, yeah.
people think that they can come in and then.
But what they think
I
is-
understand, it got a little like,
Yeah, but what you think and what happens are two different things.
Got a little tension there, no?
All right, Brian.
I mean, the way I see it, in recent memory, we've approved two completely new structures with apartments on the second floor and business on the bottom floor. At least the ones I can think of, and they have yet to be built. Not talking about the Mark, not talking about, but there were two other properties where we said, and we came up with that in the special design district, I think, and they haven't been built yet. So, I mean, that kind of shows, is there really a way, like they promised, right? Oh, yeah, we can do the apartments and then that gets us some funding and then we can also build this other thing and then it'll bring businesses in. We haven't seen that happen. So I don't know if I'm totally on board, even though we just did it for the boats and RVs, on changing the rules to help people that aren't following the rules all of a sudden being conformity. I mean, I don't see an urgency.
Okay.
At the same time, I do love the idea of trying to fix some of these really falling apart buildings, but at some point, the people living in them aren't even gonna be able to live in them if they don't fix them. So if they just don't, without our help, if they don't fix these up, eventually they're just gonna fall down at this point. So I'm okay with waiting at the moment.
Commissioner Panici.
I see Rob's point and everybody's point, but I'm not looking from the point of view of the landlord or the property owner. I'm looking from the point of view of an elderly person that's a widow or a younger person that we're trying to keep in the town. So if we want to give those people a way to stay here, then we could consider something like that.
I don't know if you need elderly people, no offense to elderly people, but in some cases, living on a second story.
General, go ahead.
Well, I agree with that. They're not gonna wanna be on the second floor. I understand there is a need for it, but I don't think that's the way to do it. And I'd much prefer, the apartment buildings that we approved, that never got built. That's not our fault, Maybe someone else will come in and take that project, but just throwing them on top of buildings, I don't think that's a great idea.
Well, I don't think there's a consensus. So,
Something could be talked on, something can happen.
we don't have
I
to
feel like
have
we've
it.
already, there's a couple people waiting on this determination, so.
So we need to let them know.
Yeah, so I think, and the truth of the matter is you and I had talked about this. I mean, I don't want to, because we are proposing it as the town. I don't want to propose anything that's not a consensus.
Right.
I mean, I want this commission to be all on the same page if we're going to do.
So we can
something
allow-
this drastic of a measure.
Come in with an application and then we'll just go through it. As long as he knows.
No, they can't come in with an application. There's no way to legally approve it.
Oh, all right.
So
then
this
we know right
means
now not to.
we put the kibosh on, there can be no application that entertains us in any way, shape or form. We have no legal instrument in order to do it in any way, shape or form.
That's
The individual person,
to
they
be
can't,
The consensus.
I mean, they could propose a zone change to the property and try to make it all.
This,
Right.
the one that we're talking about, they can't.
It's a small.
Well, I wasn't sure if that was.
There's, even if they do a zone change, it doesn't. It's a unique situation that it doesn't lend itself to that.
So then we probably should wait to have another subcommittee meeting until you have something.
Sure.
All right. We're going to meet back again next month.
On the 7th, yeah, we can schedule another one.
Okay. Any other commissioner issues? If not, then a motion to.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by any second. Condon. Thank you all.
That's a lot longer than I expected.